Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. I am once again broadcasting from an apocalypse cabin somewhere in the mountains of Pennsylvania. Uh, just when I thought I was out, it pulls me back in. And what do I mean? I mean the ridiculousness of David Wilcock. Um, it's very difficult to cover his garbage because you got to listen to like a 4 hour stream. But luckily, I found one that was only about 3 hours. And because of the time of day in which I left for the cabin today, if I leave anywhere past like 1 or 2 p.m., I run into huge amounts of traffic on the way. And that turns a 2 hour drive into a 3 hour drive. So I thought, well, I have some albums to listen to, or I could listen to this garbage and laugh all the way to my apocalypse cabin, which is what I did earlier today. I got through almost all of it. I'm not sure how much we can get through tonight, but we're going to try. We are going to try. I want to remind everybody, if you're listening in audio podcast land, please do search for us on YouTube. Just go to the YouTube search bar and put in Truthseekers, one word, and you will find our channel. There you can subscribe and hit the notification bell and always know about our live shows. And you can come and participate in the live chat here. You are most welcome. This is a viewer-supported show as well as a show with a great deal of audience participations. We have call-in lines, and we have for sure a lively group discussion in the live chat. We take questions and comments from the live chat, and I just want to make sure that everybody listening in audio podcast land, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spreaker or Spotify, wherever you're listening in audio land, I want to make sure that you come and join the party at our main hub here, which is our YouTube channel. Just search for us on YouTube as Truthseekers. Look for that strange guy with the sunglasses. That would be your host, me, Stephen Cambion, and hit the subscribe button. You're most welcome here. I would like for all of you guys over in audio podcast land to come over and join in the discussion. Now back to our subject at hand. Well, friends, it would appear that Mr. Wilcock is getting increasingly and increasingly more desperate for material to sell his stupid followers. Because, look, this guy has been wrong about everything he's talked about for 20 years, right? He in the year 2000, he said that there would be this solar flash and an earth-changing event, and we were all going to get superpowers, and that didn't happen. Then he pulled that same thing in the year 2012. I guess he figured, well, I talked about this 12 years ago. Maybe people forgot that the last time I talked about it, nothing happened, so I'll talk about it again. And in 2012, he basically claimed that there was these cosmic waves and they were going to raise our density, right? And we were all, many of us, going to become ascendant masters, and we would all get superpowers. We were going to be able to levitate. We were going to be able to telepathically communicate with each other and move things with our mind. We would all get superpowers. And damn it, none of that happened. Next, he brought us the secret space astronaut, Corey Goode, and went on Gaia and talked to Corey Goode for some 3 or 4 years, right? And Corey Goode had not a single solitary shred of proof or evidence that any of his space galactic adventures were real. So shit, that was all bullshit too, wasn't it? Yeah, it appears so. Next, he went on for the last 4 years to talk about the letter of the alphabet conspiracy theory, which we don't even like to mention the letter due to YouTube algorithms. We do not want people to get the wrong idea. I do not support, and our show here and my company does not support that letter of the alphabet conspiracy. In fact, we think it's ridiculous and stupid. But David Wilcock talked about it for some 4 years, right? He was analyzing the drops and talking about he had intel confirming the drops. He doesn't get intel. He's got imaginary friends, right? Like Obi-Wan Kenobi. He literally said that he dreamed of an alien, and in his dream, the alien took the form of Obi-Wan Kenobi and became a spirit guide of his of sorts, right? Of course, throughout the years, he's also claimed other ridiculous things like he's Edgar Casey reincarnated. Yeah. Then he wouldn't take the test to see if he was really Edgar Casey reincarnated. Met with several members of Edgar Casey's family, as well as the executive director of the Edgar Casey Foundation, who basically said, "You're not Edgar Casey reincarnated. Please stop making these claims." But he didn't. Yeah. One can search for his original website on Wayback Machine. It's called ascension2000.com and get an education of thousands and thousands of failed predictions that he made on that website. Looks like he's getting ready to scrub his current website because there's also thousands of things he talked about on that website that all turned out to be garbage, hopium, nothing, nonsense. But here we are. And now, fresh off the heels of another major psychic prediction of his, well, two really, recently, David Wilcock predicted that Donald Trump was going to win the election by a landslide. Oh, shit, that didn't happen either. Boy, some psychic. For a psychic, his psychic superpowers are shitty, man. They're really shitty, David Wilcock. Like, you got to guess better or something, bro. I know 100 fake psychics that are better than David Wilcock at this, being a fake psychic. Literally, I could give you a list of 100 fake psychics that do a better job than him. Good fake psychics don't get so specific. They talk in much more general terms. Why are we sideways? Yeah, I just I'm in the kitchen room here. It's just kind of the way that it works out. Yeah, sorry about that. So, and his next recent prediction was that President Biden would never be inaugurated because if that happened, the entire alliance would be murdered. Okay. Did he trust the scam or the plan? Because none of that happened, right? Show me one alliance. David Wilcock, show me one alliance member that got murdered because Joe Biden got inaugurated. And if you think he's dropped this letter of the alphabet conspiracy, tonight we're going to see that he is literally sharing the letter of the alphabet conspiracy nonsense from those guys who are still sharing it. The pillow guy and some other guy he found on the internet. And I always love David Wilcock's sourcing. Like, well, somebody wrote it on the internet, so it must be true. That's not how it works, David Wilcock, but okay, just because it's on a website doesn't mean it's true and accurate information. So as I said, Wilcock has been striking out. He has been striking out as a fake psychic for so long now, and he's getting desperate. So desperate, in fact, for something to talk about that he's pulling out 1950s contactee cases. For those that don't know, during the 1950s, especially the latter part of the 1950s, there was a slew of people claiming that they were meeting with and talking to extraterrestrial aliens who came to them on flying saucers. And all of their so-called proof was hokey as shit. It was terrible. Terrible pictures of models suspended on fishing line, terrible videos. So, yes, he's sharing Mike Pillow. Yes, he's definitely sharing Mike Pillow stuff. And Andrew Whitley correctly comments that David Wilcock's superpower is being partly responsible for destroying the 17th letter of the alphabet on YouTube. And I would tend to agree. I would definitely tend to agree. So, I had a chance to preview most of this, and I couldn't believe it. But David Wilcock is recycling and regurgitating something called the Friendship UFO case. And during this stream, he's going to make a lot of startling claims, right? Claims that he copied word for word from a website, UFOfandom.com. a website which is somewhat like WikiLeaks, but anybody can edit anything on there and write anything. That is the quality of the sources that he has. A public website that anybody can edit any article and say anything in. And tonight we're going to have some fun with that. I'm going to show you how stupid his sources are, how ridiculous his sources are, because he's quoting from this UFO fandom website on the friendship case, and we're going to go in and edit it, and we're going to change some things and show you how stupid that is to use as a source, right? It's just completely irresponsible and stupid for him to just read from that thing verbatim, and that's his proof. The friendship case is genuine and real. No, it's not. Listen, I have to go from memory, but I read the book on the friendship UFO case, and I watched the documentary on the friendship UFO case, which was incredibly hard to get through because it's in Italian, and you have to sit and read the subtitles, right? Listen, the friendship UFO case is just as ridiculous and hokey as all 1950s contactee cases. And it's important to note also that almost all the 1950s contactee cases were completely and totally wrong scientifically. For example, they would say that the aliens that they were in contact with were coming from Saturn or Venus. And we all know, maybe they didn't know in the 1950s, but we know now that Saturn and Venus is not a habitable planet. People can't live on Saturn or Venus. Later, people would retcon their stories and lie and say, oh, no, that was CIA disinformation. We never said Saturn or Venus. We said it was from another galaxy. No, they didn't. Adamski said Saturn or Venus. Howard Menger said Saturn or Venus. And I believe originally the friendship UFO people said that the aliens that they were talking to came from our solar system. Later, their story would change. And the so-called proof and evidence of the friendship UFO case is so ridiculous, so hokey, and so stupid, it is literally worse in hokiness level than Billy Meyer. It is worse than Billy Meyer shit. And David Wilcock is pulling this out. This is his ace card up his sleeve, right? He's going to talk about E.T., human-like E.T.s, right? Yeah. The friendship case. So I'm going to put my fair use banner up. Strap yourself in. This is going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride, but we're going to get through it. We're definitely going to get through it. Now, I got to find my fair use banner because don't you dare copyright strike me, David Wilcock. I know you like to do that when people are critical of your shitty, lousy research, right? Of your terrible work. Oh, geez. And this stream is great because he literally makes fun of everybody that's on unemployment or some form of public assistance during this stream. I couldn't believe it. Poor little rich boy, never had to work a day in his life, is making fun of people that are on public assistance or unemployment right now, calling that some kind of conspiracy. You know, people are lazy. Why should they work? They'll just get free money. Do you know anybody, David Wilcock, that's been affected by this pandemic? Mr. Light and Love, Mr. Spiritual Guru is making fun of unemployed people on a public live stream. But this is the hypocrisy that we get from David Wilcock. Wow. Yes, and I know V is in our audience, and she is the granddaughter of Valiant Thor, another of the 1950s. And C.W. Channer is here saying he's going to copyright strike me. No, listen, later tonight I'm doing a show called Proof I'm a Time Traveler. Better than C.W. Channer's proof. Just so you know. And you did say I could steal a bit for my birthday, C.W. Channer, so I'm stealing it. We're going to do a second stream later. No, this is probably going to run really long. So like I said, get yourself a beverage, get comfortable. We're going to share this. I'm citing fair use. We're educating the public about the ridiculous garbage information that David Wilcock peddles as real and factual. Then we're going to go through some of the so-called evidence. Oh, and it is golden, friends. Pictures of 8-foot aliens. Oh, it's great. It is great. Pictures of the interior of a spaceship that look like they were made by a child in nursery school. It's amazing that he's running with this garbage. He must be desperate. He's got nothing. He can't talk about the letter of the alphabet too much because he'll get his channel stricken. He can't talk about the current health crisis because we'll get his channel stricken, right? And he can't talk about fraud. No, I'm going to provide more evidence that I'm a time traveler, not you. And I'm going to provide proof that you're a fake time traveler, and I'm a real time traveler. Yes. And FGraph72 reminding people to smash the like button. Yes, please do that. All right. So listen, this is a long stream. We're probably gonna have to do this in 2 parts, but it's okay. It's worth covering this entire thing, because especially towards this end of the stream, he starts making fun of unemployed people and calling them lazy. So yeah, and his stream is called David Wilcock, Human ETs, Full Disclosure in the 1950s. What did they say? Oh. And again, before I forget to make this point, I just want to make a point to say that the people in the Friendship UFO case said similar things to things said in the Law of One. So David Wilcock takes that as proof that both are real and genuine, because, 2 people said the same thing. So it must be true. It's a ridiculous, flawed logic, but he uses it all the time. So we're going to cite fair use. This is a transformative work. We're educating the public about the ridiculous things that David Wilcock is telling people are real and factual. Okay, here we go. Let me make sure I share the audio. All right, let's get into it, friends. This is the desperation of David Wilcock. He's pulling out 1950s super hokey as shit contactee cases. No serious researcher takes any of this stuff seriously. None. I'm sorry. But, good for him. He's out of material, so he's got to sell his followers something, and he's going to sell them this hokey garbage. Let's get into it, friends. Oh, is it starting? He's waiting for Elizabeth.
Oh, my goodness.
Ooh.
This is a very exciting day for me, because the 1950s human extraterrestrial contacts that occurred in Italy and in the United States fundamentally redefine what a disclosure event is. As you probably know, we are getting mainstream media acknowledgement that there is going to be some sort of UFO truth announcement. We were hearing it was going to be January. I'm sorry, I'm thinking December, January. We were hearing it was going to be June 1st, where we would get...
Well, I guess you heard wrong, because nobody made an announcement. That's how great his intel is.
A certain amount of information. Now, some of the people who I've been speaking to, who are colleagues of mine that allegedly have the cosmic top secret clearance, which again is 35 levels of need to know, above the President of the United States.
Sure. David Wilcock's got friends that have top secret security clearances that are 35 levels above the President. Can you give us their names, David Wilcock? Who do you know that has 35 levels of top secret clearance above the President? That is a stupid statement to make. Who? Name them. We'll check. I'll file FOIA requests to find out what their security levels are. You don't know anybody with any kind of security clearance. You're a fraudster and a grifter.
That is the standard entry-level security clearance that you get, where you start to know what's really going on. Over the years, I've disclosed many aspects of this to you, and I wouldn't be surprised if new insiders are getting ready to come forward. I think...
Yeah, he must have found some new senile people or crazy people that he can milk for alien stories. So he's going to have new insiders real soon.
There will probably be a number of them that will trigger concurrently with this whole process. Some of those guys are telling me that based on what they're seeing and what they think is being planned to be...
And notice he never names the people. So these are just his imaginary friends that are telling him stuff about aliens. He never names these people that he's supposed to know in high levels of government that have all these security clearances. And he never will, because they don't exist, David Wilcock. You're making this shit up.
Released that we're only going to get approximately 1% of the information that we really want to have from a disclosure. So there's a lot of things that we've been sharing over the years, and some people have tried to undermine the credibility of certain insiders of mine, but there is a clear trend line.
Oh yeah, I know. If I'm one of those people, and I think one of them's in the live chat, at least one of them in the form of CW Channer, ripping apart your garbage streams and your fake information. Yeah, people are trying to impugn your credibility. You use fake sources. You use senile old men telling stories about aliens. You use any source that you could sell an alien story about. You do no vetting. He never vetted Pete Peterson. He's going to mention him here. Pete Peterson was a fake whistleblower. He never worked for Ronald Reagan. His whole bio was made up. And David Wilcock wrote a whole book about that guy.
Throughout all of these different pieces of information. And that trend line suggests that we have a very robust space development. In other words, the Roswell crash apparently is real. Let's do the dramatic close-up. You like that? Everybody's been complimenting me on these close-ups, but it is actually very difficult. If you have a big screen TV.
Oh, now he gives everybody a lesson on how to properly do. I love this. He gives everybody a lesson on how to properly do extreme close-ups because, he's an expert in film.
I don't want to move my face too much on the close-up or else it's too much movement. So there's a whole etiquette to follow when you have an extreme close-up. And it makes my neck really sore. So twice of these a week is plenty.
Oh, he's really suffering for his audience. He's got to not move his face too much when he does an extreme close-up because he looks too ridiculous when he does that. Great. And he's suffering. His neck hurts. Oh, poor David.
But I like to hold my head really still so it doesn't look crazy for you on the television set. Anyway, what we're now dealing with is a disclosure event that seems to be not exactly what we want. And the overview is that we actually do apparently have a robust presence in space. I actually believe that the Pete Peterson reporting, I went back and listened to it again recently. He said he had been to roughly 65 different off-planet locations.
Yes, so a fake Ronald Reagan science and technology advisor that never worked for Ronald Reagan, a man who plagiarized his entire biography, claimed he won the Order of Lenin Award. And by the way, there's a list. You can look up the list of who won the Russian Order of Lenin Award. Pete Peterson and his other legal name is not on there. Gary Peterson is not on there. He never won the Lenin Award. He never worked for Ronald Reagan, and he never worked for the Russian equivalent of NASA. We busted that as a completely and totally fake source. Near as I could tell, he was a senile old man with bottles of piss in his house.
And so we have apparently a number of facilities on Mars, a number of facilities on the moon. And then when you get out there, you find out that there's people everywhere. There's lots of different people. They're human looking, but they have maybe different skin color. Maybe they're taller or shorter. And they've been working with our government, at least what you could call the government, for quite some time covertly. It's just not become a kind of a commonly known thing yet that we're having all this extraterrestrial interaction. But it clearly appears that these beings do intend to make themselves known to us in the future. And they operate on a very funky set of rules that most people probably don't know, including the people in the national security states.
Yes, and they just so happen to be the same rules that Star Trek goes by. The Prime Directive, but that's not a coincidence.
So the simple fact that they're getting ready to do this disclosure and that they're already doing it actually changes the rules of what the ETs are able to do, because they have laws that they have to follow, just like if you signed an ironclad contract and the only thing you can do is to follow the contract. This is the same concept. In other words, they have to follow these laws. They have to make sure that what you could call in Star Trek the Prime Directive is preserved.
Because everybody knows that Star Trek's really real, right? Oh no, he said Star Wars was basically a documentary.
So when I first started to have what appeared to be extraterrestrial contact occurring telepathically, that was in 1996. And it occurred after 4 solid years of writing my dreams down every morning and actually learning the language of the dreams and being able to decipher the meanings. And this is a very important point.
So all you got to do is write down your dreams, and then soon you'll be contacting aliens telepathically.
Learning how to actually communicate with your higher self, for lack of a better term, to do it directly and to get direct information, that's an incredibly valuable process. So that is one of the things that we're going to be covering in this year's Ascension Mystery School 3.0.
Oh, here comes the
Gateway to
pitch.
Galactic Mind. Please go check us out at ascensionmysteryschool.com.
No, don't.
Because that discussion
don't check
is
it out.
much more interesting and much more broad than I'm able to do in these public videos. There's things that I want to share that, frankly, I just don't feel like doing it publicly. And
yes, he doesn't feel like doing it publicly because then people won't pay him $333 for the fake information in the course. And if the fake information he puts out publicly is this high quality, imagine the quality of the stuff you got to pay for, right? Maybe he actually has. No, I don't think he has any good information, but it is what it is. Good for him. Sell a course, bro. And by the way, nobody ascended from the first course for $333. I can't find one person that ascended, David Wilcock, and I know people that paid you for a course twice on how to ascend. And they didn't ascend the second time either. But the third time's a charm. People will have ended up giving you, what, $1,000 for these 3 courses on Ascension? And no, you can't show me one person that ascended.
And it's new stuff. It's great stuff. So even if you've seen my material before, we are giving you a lot of new stuff. We had a lot of incredible compliments on the first one. And I actually showed in the first.
I love how he's always talking about these phantom people that are complimenting on him on everything. Oh, we've gotten such amazing feedback on my book. I get emails every day about how much everybody likes it. Oh, people are telling me how much they like my close-ups. Oh, people are telling me how great this new course is.
First week's class, by the way, that Proxima Centauri, our sun's closest neighbor, actually did have a solar flash only 4 days later than the Mayan calendar end date. And I only did that math recently based upon the calculation of March 24th, 2017.
Oh, here he's going to go. He's going to connect a whole lot of dots here with some numbers, right? And that's proof that what he talks about is real. It's garbage. And he's not an astrophysicist. He doesn't know anything about physics or astrophysics or astrobiology or astronomy. He's got like a 10th grader's level of education and understanding of astronomy.
Being when the light was first seen, and then the exact distance in light years down to 3 decimal points for Proxima Centauri, which is, I guess, 4.242 light years away, something like that. Anyway, if you go back and watch Sunday's show, which you would have to do by subscribing, of course, it is very, very amazing, because only on Sunday morning before I did the show did I actually calculate it precisely. And this is an event that caused our next door neighbor. Proxima Centauri is part of a trinary system. You've heard of Alpha Centauri. Well, there's Alpha Centauri A and B, and they're very large.
Use those big words, bro.
Much smaller.
You don't sound
that
smart.
That may account for it being called the dark sun in ancient mythology. There's nothing else there that our astronomers have found that's closer to us than Alpha Centauri. So if we are orbiting another star, which I think is going to be the solution,
I guess they'd be missing, Renee,
in terms of the grand physics puzzle. That's another thing I'll be talking about in the class. If they are our closest neighbor, it appears that we have some gravitational capture with them, that we are orbiting them. And if some kind of galactic energy wave is coming in that is supposed to create a solar flash, or at least it's expected to.
Oh, here he goes again. He's been talking about solar events and solar flash events for 20 years, and nothing ever happens. And by the way, what he's talking about here is ridiculous. Go ask an astrophysicist, go ask an astronomer. They would know if this was true and accurate and real information, but none of them talk about this. Only David Wilcock, because he knows better than every astronomer, every astrophysicist on planet Earth. Really? Okay.
So many ancient prophecies that we've been discussing here, and you're going to have some more today from the 1950s. If this is true, if this is what the sun is really going to do, then everything else is insignificant. Everything else is insignificant. The only thing that really matters is the fact that this is going to happen, and what are the teachings behind it. And the teachings, again, are that if you want to stay with the Earth as it goes through this metamorphic process, you're going to have to be at least a little bit over 50% more focused on loving and helping other people rather than manipulating and controlling them. And if you think that you already are over 50%, this is not based on your opinion. This is based on absolute truth that apparently they can measure with what they call the spiraling line of light in the Law of One series. It's an absolute measurement of how.
And again, he is neither authorized nor endorsed to teach the Law of One material, and he does so constantly. From what I understand, and I've reached out to the Law of One Foundation people several times without reply, they don't want him even mentioning the Law of One or teaching people Law of One material because he's not authorized to do so. But and I think that's very disrespectful. If that's really a religion, he should respect their religion and respect their beliefs that he's not authorized or smart enough to teach their material and stop doing so.
Far you've progressed as vibrationally, I guess. So literally the beings will get an exact increment of how far you made it. So you might tomorrow decide to forgive someone who you hadn't been willing to forgive before. And that could actually be the tipping point for you between whether this will be something that you will be benefiting from or where you're part of the great relocation, the Noah's Ark thing, where they get put on another planet.
Oh, no, we're going to get dumped on another planet if we're not 51% in service of others. And this whole thing is ridiculous, too, because according to David Wilcock and Corey Good and others, you could be 49% total asshole evil. As long as you're 51% good, you're going to ascend. Okay. I don't believe that. I'm sorry, I don't believe that.
Over here real quick, in my new book, Awakening in the Dream.
Oh, you got to pitch the book.
See right here, a little bit out of focus. I go through a lot of this stuff. So if you can't afford the class, but you would love to engage this material more, I've said this almost every time, but please, again, the book's like, I don't know, a little over $20. And we're not getting rich writing this. The books are the least profitable part of my business. The reason I do it is so that it gets out in 15 languages. And that you have a hardcover and a paperback after a year.
And somebody gave me a copy of this book, and I only got about 50 pages in, and I wanted to throw it in my fireplace because it is garbage. That's my personal opinion. I'm allowed to have an opinion about any public author's book. And my public opinion about this latest book from him is that it's garbage. It's dream interpretation nonsense garbage that you can get at any discount bookstore for $3.
Back's coming up pretty soon. And I really want the message to get out. And so I am long-winded. These books are over 500 pages long. That I write as much as they will let me. There's a certain commercial limit to how far they'll let you write a book. And then they say, well, now the book's too big and nobody's going to buy it. So I push it right up to the line, about 576 pages. But it's not going to feel like it's a long read. It's a very fascinating book.
It felt like a long read to me.
And actually, I had a guy recently tell me that...
Oh, here it goes. Another compliment from a phantom person, right? That he never names. He never names any of these people that are complimenting him all the time.
The main thing he wishes is that I had more time to discuss each topic. But we crammed...
This guy does 4-hour streams. People are literally in his live chat saying, dude, learn to summarize things. This is crazy. This is too long. I've seen people say that in his live chat. Now he's here saying, people are saying they wish that I could talk longer. No, nobody wants you to talk longer, David Wilcock, least of all me, because I got to sit through this shit twice to cover this.
A lot of stuff in there. There's sacred science, all the stuff about the pyramid timeline, extraterrestrials migrating to Earth from Mars, the exploded planet Maldek, and how those people got put here. And they had to go through a kind of a karmic alleviation process where they became what we could think of as Neanderthals.
In other words, his book is filled with regurgitated alien stories that have no proof.
These were not actually made properly for a third density experience, and that was the karma that they all had to go through for blowing up their planet, apparently. The planet was supposedly a super Earth, much larger than Earth, that was a Garden of Eden, and had another Earth orbiting it that was what we call Mars. Supposedly, when this planet blew up, Mars was also destroyed by the impact. And there's a really great, Thomas Van Flandern has the exploded planet hypothesis.
Yeah, and it's just that, David. It's a hypothesis. It's never been proven. And you're going to talk here like you're some kind of authority on planetary sciences and the formation of our solar system because you read one article a scientist wrote with an unproven hypothesis. Don't you love how he's an expert in everything? He's an expert in the formation of the solar system. He's an expert in ancient civilizations. He's an expert in everything.
and he is a PhD credited. And
Oh, so that guy's got a PhD, so it must be real.
he basically went back and looked and said, look, Mars definitely seems to have been hit by some massive impact as if it was a captured moon of a bigger planet. And in fact, there's a whole lot of stuff that Richard C. Hoagland came up with the Mars tidal model. So if you look,
yes, and Richard C. Hoagland is also the guy that pushed the face on Mars conspiracy for 20 years. And the pyramids on Mars conspiracy for 20 years. And that we know now, due to rover images and Mars satellite topography, that's all public and on the NASA website. We know that Richard Hoagland was completely and totally wrong on these two things. His two major stories, the face on Mars and the Mars pyramids. We know scientifically it can be proven. Anybody can analyze the images from the Mars topography and know that Richard Hoagland was completely and totally wrong on those things. But he's going to cite him like he's some kind of trusted authority on Mars and planetary science when it comes to Mars. Richard C. Hoagland is a quack like David Wilcock who can't be trusted. He pushed these conspiracy theories and made money talking about them for 20 years. Turns out, oh, they're all fake.
If you look at where the liquid water is on Mars today, it all clusters on two sides of the moon. Well, planet now, but it was a moon. So the moon on Earth, if you think about it, we always see the same part of the moon in the night sky. And that's because of gravitational capture. So over a long period of time,
I hope it gets better.
If the moon
it's going to get
had
better.
Water, because of this gravitational capture, you'd see more water on the side facing the Earth and more water on the side opposite the Earth. It's some kind of a gravitational effect that causes this. We see exactly that on Mars today. We see two big spots of liquid water. There's still liquid water on
so we're going to fast forward. Now next he's going to start talking about the letter of the alphabet conspiracy. And I love this part because he just starts posting random shit from Parler, from 17th letter of the alphabet conspiracy nutters with zero proof, zero evidence. And then he even talks about this may not be real or true, but I wanted to share it. Why would you want to share it if you don't know if it's real or true?
Getting a lot of reports that, first of all, the lights are off at the WH all the time. There are citizen journalists who have been trying to call it, and they don't even have a voicemail. Nope.
And I decided to call the White House, and I got an operator immediately when I called the main White House number today. So that's garbage and fake information. And boy, look at that. That's a great place to stop it. David Wilcock, you're completely and totally lying to people. Anybody can pick up the phone and know that, yes, they are answering the phone at the White House.
Nobody's going in there.
Anybody can watch. People are coming in and out of the White House constantly. You're lying again. You're telling people fake, false information.
Lights aren't on at night.
The lights are on at night, you dummy. Jesus.
But now more recently, we're hearing all this report of lots of activity. Helicopters coming and going, staff coming and going from these two major locations. Now,
they have a helicopter pad there. Yeah, there's helicopters coming and going from the White House, with generals and military people and visiting dignitaries, and the president has his own helicopter that comes and goes from the White House. They have a helipad there. It's not unusual for helicopters to be coming and going from the White House. David Wilcock, you're not smart enough for this. You don't even think logically before you start spouting this bullshit at people.
Now, one particular insider who again is very public, and I forget what he's up to now, almost 200,000 subscribers. He seems to be leaking some good stuff, and we've talked about him in previous weeks.
Yeah.
So there's only really two major ideas.
And I believe the source that he's mentioning now is the same source that said there was 50,000 Chinese troops on the border about to invade the United States, but we hit them with a bunker busting bomb, so it's all good, right? And that guy is a Holocaust denying, anti-Semitic racist. That's who Mr. Love and Light here is going to use as a source.
Is that I've seen going around in terms of what the heck is all the work being done for? What is going on there? There's door number one and there's door number two. Door number one, and again, it could be something that I haven't thought of, nobody's thought of. There could be a door number 3 or 4, but
this is like The Price is Right. It's awesome. Do you want door number 1 or door number 2? He has no idea what's going on, so he's just going to give people options for what they want to believe, you know, because he heard it on the internet.
2 major theories that everybody has is, number one, this could be that that both of these facilities are already being set up for some sort of court cases that will be taking place there. And I'm going to avoid using certain words now because they're probably looking for those. So anyway, what we're dealing with is one theory where there are renovations going on, or perhaps people have already been put through a court case. There may have already been things going on.
Yeah.
There may have already been.
And this is ridiculous because, listen, every time a new president takes office, renovations take place at the White House. I have a source that confirmed that for me. You know, they redecorate, they change all of the paintings and artwork around to suit whatever the president wants and the first lady wants. There is renovations every time there's a new president. So for anybody to suggest that because there's renovations, that means anything other than there's a new president, there's always renovations and changes at the White House is ridiculous. He's not smart enough to play this game. He's just not smart enough. He doesn't even know this stuff. He should check. Pick up the phone, David. Pick up the phone and ask the White House, is there renovations? Has there been renovations since Mr. Biden took office? And if so, why? And they'll tell you why. You didn't do that.
Trials, they may already be filmed. They may have been happening in these 2 buildings. That's one possibility.
Yeah, they put Hillary Clinton on trial.
Door number 2, to me, is equally plausible. Because door number 2, wouldn't you think these people might try something like this? Let me just run this past you. What if everybody is supposedly in these buildings, and then they just get wiped out? And then theoretically, all of the people who were about to be arrested no longer exist.
And by the way, he's repeating letter of the 17th alphabet conspiracy nonsense. This is what's going around, that there's going to be some kind of false flag event, and there's going to be a 9/11 level fake terrorist attack, and they're going to, I don't want to say it, but they're going to blow things up. And you know what he's talking about. And it's garbage. There's no evidence of this. It's just people talking on the internet. And this guy is just going to repeat it.
And maybe they would even stage it where it looks like, you know, it's them. And there's maybe even, you know, remains that look like them or would be close enough that you would think, or it's just so badly damaged that, like, you don't know if anybody's really there.
You know, they have DNA, you dummy. Yeah, they would be able to tell for sure.
Or they tell you that everybody's gone, but they're really not. And what are they doing? They're probably getting into a submarine and scooting off somewhere. That's entirely plausible, because if you think about it, everybody's saying, watch out for big, horrible things that you don't know what they are, and they're bad. So maybe it's going to be an ET type of thing. Maybe it's the alien card, right? But then the alien card is that there's a big pyramid in the sky and a beam comes down and woo, up goes these 2 symbols of the United States. Nobody's in there, and there's a lot of work going on. So one of the speculations...
And here's another point. He keeps saying nobody's at the White House. It's a dead zone. That's the 17th letter of the alphabet conspiracy nonsense. There are press people going in and out of the White House every day. Wouldn't one of them report that the entire White House is empty of staff? Do you know how many staffers go in and out of the White House every day, David Wilcock? This is ridiculous. It makes zero sense. You have no proof or evidence. You have speculation and repeated rumors that you read on the internet.
In this line of reasoning is that the work is to install a whole lot of stuff in there that makes sure it's going to do what they want it to do. And it'll do it the right way. Probably lots of computerized controls so that if one thing doesn't go off, they got another thing, and they make sure they get the whole thing. They get it done right, and it looks really dramatic, and everybody is crying, and everybody's sad, and oh, they're all gone now. They're all gone now. So now, since they're not here anymore, we can't hold them accountable. I would definitely believe that that's possible, because you got to remember, these people are willing to do anything. So
Yeah,
either
they're all Luciferian satanic pedophiles, according to Wilcock and the right wing 17th letter of the alphabet nutters. So they would sure, if they'll do that and harvest children and murder children and the mold children for adrenochrome, of course they would do this. Wouldn't put it past them, those evil liberals.
either timeline could be going on, and what we know is nobody's being able to get in there, and there's lots and lots of signs of military activity, ambulances, which again would suggest arrests and more unpleasant, like the kinetic conflict, basically. But so I want to go back to.
And by the way, David Wilcock, being an expert on everything, he's also an expert on geopolitics, as you've just heard here. He knows all about what's going on with the United States government. Sure you do, David Wilcock. Sure you do.
To the person I was reading from before, and get you up to date on what he is saying, because everything I just told you is the context for this discussion. So let's go to the slide. Okay, so first I'm going to show you the whole thing, and you can see the three pages that we're going to read.
Look, he saw it on the internet, so it must be true. Something big is going on. Just a scam.
So this is the one I said before, and again, 107,000 members. So this is very, very public. Many, many people are seeing this, besides his own subscribers, of course.
Just because people are seeing it doesn't mean it's true. What is the evidence of this stuff? This is garbage. This is garbage you found on Parler or Telegram.
So it says no leaks, and something big has been going on for weeks. So again, door number one is that the something big is like a trial and arrests and kids getting saved out of tunnels. That could be part of it. Door number two is, well, what if it's actually that they're rigging everything up, just like something else that happened before, where you get this.
All right, we're going to skip ahead, or
ready.
We're never going to get through this. Yeah, and he goes through a list of all of the popular. He's going to show you what the pillow guy says, and General Flynn
called to engage. Now, what do you think that might mean? Get ready might indicate get ready in terms of being prepared for the possibility of a power outage.
Oh, again with the power outage. He's been pushing the power outage for several years now. 7 days of darkness, and it never happened. And then he's going to claim, because there was a power outage in Texas, that he was right. Look, power outages happen. It's just a normal thing that happens. Machines break. Sometimes the power goes off. It doesn't mean there's some grand conspiracy.
We are called to engage. We could represent the notes of the meeting that this other insider I was just showing you said took place, a classified meeting of generals where they say they need to engage. Well, that's exactly what Quinn is saying, that they're called to engage. And then he gives you this. He gives you this image of the flag with a rainbow behind it.
He's such a coward, he won't even say General Flynn. He's saying Quinn this whole time because he's paranoid that his channel is going to get stricken down for sharing this garbage that YouTube doesn't like. And I just want to say, I'm going to say my daily prayer. We don't agree with any of this letter of the alphabet garbage. In fact, we're making fun of it and talking about how ridiculous it is here. So please find some context. Hear my prayer, AI algorithm gods. This is my prayer to the Google AI algorithm gods. Please do not strike me down, because we're saying this is stupid, okay? In Google's name we pray, amen.
Suggesting the possibility, again, of a rebirth, because the rainbow is a symbol of rebirth. The pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, the leprechaun stuff. There's a lot of positive symbolism here. And the rainbow, again, usually symbolizes like the glory after a rainstorm. You have the storm is bad. We've talked about the storm quite a bit. They've used that metaphor quite a bit. After the storm, you get a rainbow. So here he is saying, we are called to engage, get ready, and then he shows you the rainbow after the storm. Let's look at this one now. And again, there's tons and tons and tons of these kinds of things that come out. And we see many of these. So again, the question that I was asking before is, are benevolent ETs helping out this process in some way? Are we in fact being guided through some sort of higher intelligence so that these things don't fly off the rails? And I believe the answer is yes. And so it is becoming kind of old hat in ufology now that, yeah, UFOs show up over these nuke installations and they power everything down. They can't use the weapons. Everything goes offline. There's no electricity. Even the radioactivity doesn't work anymore. They become radioactively inert.
There's no proof or evidence of that. And I have several books about UFOs over, there's so much material about UFOs invading classified airspace or being over nuclear installations. And yes, there have been times where it appeared that the UFOs were shutting down launch capabilities, but there's no evidence whatsoever that they somehow, took away the radioactivity of the weapons. That's garbage. That's the David Wilcock prover maneuver. He says one thing that's factually accurate, and then he tacks on new bullshit on top of it.
And then it just goes away and the lights come back on, everything's fine. Although, apparently, sometime in 1990 or 1991, all of the weapons on both sides of the Cold War were all melted down. I talk about that, for example, in Above Majestic, the movie that we made.
No. All of our nuclear weapons on both sides, the United States and the Soviet Union, were not melted down. There was an arms agreement, and some nuclear weapons on both sides were decommissioned. There was a de-escalation in the amount of nuclear weapons. Nothing was melted down. Jesus, where does he get this shit from?
So, and also there was a very interesting Sri Yantra pattern, a mandala that showed up in an Oregon Oregon, I guess they would call it, dry lake bed. It might be that people built it. There's sort of like this idea that people actually did build it, but even if they did, I think they were influenced to do it by higher consciousness so that the same result would be achieved, which is that there was a marker put down at the time that these weapons were destroyed by the ETs.
There's no credible evidence or proof that any nuclear weapons have ever been destroyed by extraterrestrials. Again, this is the David Wilcock prover maneuver. He said one thing that was somewhat factually accurate 5 minutes ago, and he just keeps tacking on his new invented bullshit on top of one fact.
They've made it very clear for many, many years they are not going to let us do anything crazy to ruin the planet. So for that same reason, I don't believe that some sort of outrageous flip into a totalitarian world is going to happen either. They could try, but there are cycles in place that have to be followed in which we have to get this global awakening. And to me, what we're seeing on Earth right now is a very clear example of the hero's journey. And we're right at the point where the villain is about to be exposed and where really amazing, triumphant things are going to happen.
Trust the scam.
So back to the slide. In the 1950s, the ETs gave their own disclosure. So this is another extremely, extremely important point that I want to bring up to you. We're going to get the official disclosure.
Matt, you're right.
But the ETs that are the good guys have already said through other sources they don't like to talk to the national security state. Can you imagine? I can't imagine why. But they don't like the deception, they don't like the trickery, and so what they prefer to do apparently is contact private individuals who have the right spiritual vibration,
or who want to write a book and speak at conferences and make money talking about their experiences with aliens. That was largely the 1950s contactee movement. People profiting from fake stories about meeting with aliens and flying on their flying saucers and all of this garbage. And he's running with it.
And then those people are given the messages that they want humanity to know. So the first story of 1950s...
I love this. New York Times bestselling author who buys his own books to get himself on the New York Times bestselling author list. That's great.
ET contact is of a group that called themselves the ACRI. So let's go to the slide. You see how that's spelled. And this comes from, there's a wonderful documentary called Il Caso Amicizia, which translates out of Italian.
It ought to translate into this alien story that's cheesy. It sounds kind of like that. El Caso Amicizia. It's really cheesy. The so-called proof is so hokey and stupid and ridiculous. I can't believe that he's running with this and telling people that this is real.
In English as the...
And we're going to see some of it, friends. I have some.
Friendship case. This is the picture of the documentary. And it says here, this is a UFOfandom.com. It's a UFO wiki, okay? The friendship case.
Like I said, this is a wiki that anybody can edit it. And tonight we're going to edit it live on air just to show how ridiculous it is that he's just repeating this shit word for word like it's factually accurate, right? I'm going to show you.
Amicizia means friendship is an extraterrestrial contact case that began in 1956 in Europe, involving many hundreds of people in several countries.
No, there was a claim by the author of all of this information that there was many hundreds of people. They've never named many hundreds of people. Only a few people's names were ever given out or talked about this publicly as being part of this so-called contact. The claim that many hundreds of people took part in this is hype and nonsense designed to sell books and documentaries. They have never listed the hundreds of people. They won't let you talk to the hundreds of people or interview them. It's garbage, David Wilcock, and you're running with it.
So I'm going to read a little bit from this. The friendship case started in Pescara, Italy in 1956. Writer Bruno Sammachichia was considered the main contactee.
Who, by the way, not coincidentally, wrote a bunch of magazine articles, tabloid newspaper articles about talking to those aliens and profited from this case from the very beginning. He's leaving that part out, or he doesn't know about that part. But don't worry, David Wilcock, I know about that part. Yes, he was a writer who suddenly decided that he was having contact with aliens and started selling all the tabloid newspapers and magazines stories about the aliens and the flying saucers. Do you think that might have been somewhat of a motive for him to make this shit up, David Wilcock?
Who started all this and then got other people involved. Also included in this group were Stefano Breccia, Gaspare de Lama, and his wife Mirella.
Yeah, and by the way, that is really, if you read the book, the only people mentioned. So you see this case, this claim that hundreds of people were talking to these aliens and hundreds of people were involved in this case in contact with the aliens. No, they only mentioned four, right? 4 people were named or talked about it publicly. Nobody else, and everybody that did speak about it publicly had a financial motive to do so. Stefano Breccia wrote a book, and all 4 of these people took part in the documentary and had a stake in it. What does that mean? They made money from the documentary made about this.
And Breccia's respected status as an academician and a scientist inspired Gaspare de Lama to come forward with his story as of, I guess, somewhere in around 2010, I think, or 2009 is when this happened. So here's a picture of Bruno Sammachichia. Now, apparently what was going on with Bruno Sammachichia is that these beings felt that he had the right vibration. He had the right intentions, the right...
It's all about the vibrations. It's always about the vibrations. You got to raise your vibration. You need a higher vibration. You need to be eating a high vibe diet. The aliens won't talk to you unless your vibration is high enough.
Focus that they contacted him. So what exactly is it that happened? Human-looking beings showed up for Bruno, and they began...
Shut up, Jonaside.
Apparently, this included getting taken on board their UFO craft. They had bases underground, and he and others were brought into these bases for extended periods of time. Some of these people stayed with the beings and never left. Very strange things were happening. For example, Bruno and others who were involved in this could go into a room, and then they would put a tape recorder in place, and then they would hit record, and a voice would appear on the tape when you played it back. And it was this interesting, very hypnotic sounding voice that was saying very positive spiritual things.
Yes, and just as a coincidence, these aliens came 100,000 light years to visit people on Earth. Well, it depends on which part of the story. Originally, they came from, other planets in our solar system. Later, the story got retconned somewhat that it was from 100,000 light years away, right? And these tape recordings, supposedly of the aliens talking, and at one point had some of these, and some of this stuff is played in the documentary. These aliens speak perfect Italian. What? Wow, man, what a coincidence. They came 100,000 light years and they speak perfect Italian. And by the way, I mean perfect Italian with no accent. I had somebody that speaks Italian that lives in Italy that I know listen to some of this and say, is there any accent here? And they're like, well, regionally, maybe it sounds Sicilian to me. But yeah, why would aliens have a Sicilian form of Italian dialect? Why would they have a Sicilian accent if they came 100,000 light years? Right? It makes no sense. But that's the evidence. Somebody talking on a tape recorder that's supposed to be an alien.
They would have objects materialize in the room, and those objects included sometimes things like a crumpled up message that was actually written out on a piece of paper for them.
Again, stories, no evidence of this whatsoever, just stories from the people that are selling the story. And David Wilcock bought a hook, line, and sinker because he never heard a story about aliens he didn't think was true.
And these beings would appear in front of them. They looked like us. They looked human. Some of them were shorter. Some of them were taller.
Yeah, a lot taller. One of the so-called proof or evidence of these ETs is a picture of a guy they claim is 10 foot tall. But there's no way to gauge whether the guy in the picture is 10 foot tall. You just have to trust the person that took the picture that's telling you that totally human dude in this picture is 10 foot tall. And what's their proof or evidence? We went back and measured the tree he was standing in front of. And yeah, he was 10 foot tall. Trust us. Garbage. Garbage. This is not evidence, David Wilcock. This is garbage to sell tabloid newspapers. And ask anybody in Italy, this crap was all over tabloid newspapers.
And they let us know that they really were interested in helping us. So I want to read you a little more from the UFO Wiki first here. So we talked about, again, how Breccia's respected status as an academician and a scientist inspired Gaspare de Lama to...
Oh, yeah. Genocide. You wanted slides? Here. I had David Wilcock make you some, okay? I'm not making slides, Jonas. I will eventually. But for now, you can have David Wilcock slides. Look, he's got, like, animations and stuff. It's like, yeah.
To come forward with the story. So here is Stefano Breccia. And here is Gaspare de Lama. And so if you go to ivanchechi.it, this is the first iteration of his disclosure when he made this video. It is fascinating. And then it turned into this documentary on Italian television. So here's Gaspare de Lama today. And here he is posing with Stefano Breccia. I believe he's on the right. And this is back in like the 1950s when this was happening. So these two guys... both were contacted by these beings, and really, really interesting things started to happen.
Somebody wants to see him cry.
Referred to the beings as the W56, and it was simply the year that the contact started, 1956, and I forget what the W is for. He said that they told him, and this again is in person, so he didn't have to like wonder if he was getting real information. They showed up in this case.
Jonas slides.
W56 are a group of beings who have been on Earth for millennia. They are scientifically and spiritually advanced way beyond what we have. They can project their physical bodies to either be tall or small. They can make it range from 1 to 6 meters in height, and they appear a lot like human beings. They identify themselves as the Akri, and they said that they have a Sanskrit way of writing their name that is accurate. And so this apparently is the original Sanskrit for Akri.
And I just want to mention, why on God's green earth would aliens that are supposed to be from 100,000 light years away be writing in Sanskrit, an English earth language? Why? Why, David Wilcock? This makes no sense. You didn't even stop to question this. You just, oh yeah, look, that's their race written in Sanskrit. Great.
How many tattoos am I going to get now of the Akri on people's arms when they see me in the grocery store? Probably a lot. You want to tattoo that? Go ahead. It's totally cool with me.
Yes, because there's people all over the world who watch David Wilcock and look for tattoo ideas, right? And they're going to come up to you and thank you, right? What kind of narcissistic... Jesus Christ, David Wilcock.
So this is some reenactments, some pictures that were drawn.
Look at this. This looks like it was drawn by a child with crayons. This is the guy with the midget alien.
For the television show of these beings. So you got a tall one and a short one coming in. And the tall one, this is kind of what he looked like based on an eyewitness reconstruction. And this is, these are the three guys, Gaspare, Bruno, and I forget the other guy. But there was a core team, and so you can see the size reference. I mean, this guy, the tall guy, was literally twice as tall as they were.
Oh, yeah. And later in this, David Wilcock talks about the hundreds and hundreds of pictures that they have of these beings. Look, if there's hundreds and hundreds of pictures of these beings, why do they need to draw shit with crayons to prove stuff in the documentary or reenact it? Show us the pictures. Oh, I got some of them, and I'm going to show them to you, and they're hokey as shit and stupid. David Wilcock, I can't believe you're running with this garbage.
And so they met on the beach.
Look at that. It's like Ant-Man when he's in giant form from the Marvel movies. Look at that.
And they all had these...
And there's a midget guy, too.
These very cool interactions, and then eventually they would always walk off, and they would go somewhere else. So contactees, many being scientists, this is important because of their credibility factor.
Yes, the guy won't name all this supposed scientists that were in contact with the aliens. People have asked him, can we have a list of the scientists besides you that were in contact with these aliens? He refused to give that list out. So this is garbage. If there was truly many, many scientists in contact with the aliens, give us their names, let us interview them, let us ask them if they were in contact with the aliens. And of course you can't, because this story is horse shit.
These are not, just fools. These are very credible, high-level people
that nobody can talk to, right? It's kind of like your imaginary friends. This guy, everybody that tells alien stories has imaginary friends that nobody else is allowed to talk to or interview, just like David Wilcock.
They were in regular communication with a group of benevolent human-like beings who called themselves the Acri, and they were primarily operating out of bases that are underground and underwater. Although there were hundreds of clear photographs, movie sequences, and tape recordings that showed a variety of extraterrestrial craft and even some of their crew, this case is little known even in the UFO community.
No, this case is known in the UFO community, but it's largely dismissed as horseshit, David Wilcock, because here's another thing. These people claim that there's hundreds of clear photographs, movie sequences, tape recordings, right? Where are they? Because I got the book, and what you get in the book is some grainy ass, terrible quality, horrible pictures that look like, they were taken on an 8mm film camera, and then somebody shit all over the negatives before they printed the pictures that went in the book or the documentary. There is no clear photographs. There is no clear movie sequences. Nothing is clear. It's all shitty quality garbage.
The primary reason for the high level of secrecy was that the case was continuing and many of those involved wanted to remain incognito.
Yeah, hundreds of people are talking to aliens, but they all want to remain secret. They don't want to divulge their names because the contact was ongoing. Well, isn't that convenient? So hundreds of people in Italy are talking to these giant aliens and midget aliens, but nobody's allowed to talk to those people. We're only allowed to talk to the guy who's selling the book about this story. Okay.
So apparently, people were continuing to get these contacts with these beings that included UFO rides and going underground to see their bases up through the late 1970s. So mid-1950s through late 1970s, over 2 decades of these interactions. And so just to give you a sense of how high level some of these people were, back to the slide.
Hey, Jill D is
One
here.
of the people who was keenly involved in this was Consul Alberto Perego, a major high-level government official in Italy who did not want to get dragged into all this stuff and be called a UFO fanatic. But yet, these were all happening. People were getting these contacts. So in 2009, there's the right date. I knew it was somewhere around there. Engineer and university professor Stefano Breccia broke the silence and openly spoke about the friendship case for the first time, really. This whole thing had been completely lost in history. Breccia's involvement with these beings and with the principal humans involved had been deep and lasted for many years, and Breccia had formed a close personal friendship with some of these beings. And we're going to read from what I believe is his words in just a minute here. The first book he came.
And I have to admit that I'm a little bit behind. Oh, so he wrote a book that he was selling. Boy. Yeah, I guess that's just a coincidence that he starts talking about aliens right when he starts selling a book.
Out with was called Mass Contacts. There have been other books since then. I had a hard time getting through this. It wasn't like the tightest read. He's a scientist, and so it's not like a user-friendly necessarily read, but there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. As an engineer, he was naturally interested in their technology, and he studied it up close. On at least one occasion, he was allowed to fly in one of the Acre's craft for some 90 minutes and could observe its functions. Well, not only that, but supposedly the ETs allowed people to photo.
Oh, wait do you see? Remember he said there was clear images, hundreds of clear images and photographs? Oh, we're going to see them, friends. We're going to see these we're going to see a few grainy-ass, shitty quality images that look like they were made from somebody in kindergarten. Like, I got a 5-year-old that could put together pictures like this if I helped them.
Photograph the controls inside their ship. So if you watch Il Caso del Amicizia, these are the actual photos. I know it's really cool. The photos of apparently what.
No, David, it's not that cool.
are the controls inside this thing. So
I got a better view of these photos. Well, not really, because the only photos that exist are super grainy, low quality, garbagey shit, garbage quality pictures. You could barely make out what's in them. They're so bad.
Here it is tilted to the side, and then here it is zoomed in. And so you can see it's very strange looking. It doesn't at all look conventional, but this,
by the way, could just as easily be a model that somebody took a picture of as well. I'm just pointing that out because I have a little bit of film and special effects experience. If I had to guess, I would say that these were models made out of like cardboard and trash, and then somebody took a picture of the model and kept everything else out of frame.
Oh, I mean, how do we know how this works? It could be.
And like I said, this is worse than Billy Meyer's photos. This is worse as far as hokiness, graininess, and shittiness than Billy Meyer's garbage.
Something that is involving the use of telekinetic or telepathic energy. I don't know. But supposedly this is real. And here is a picture of Gaspare de Lama's hand as he's pointing to some of the photographs that were taken of these Acri. Now, I found this thing on openminds.tv that actually clarifies.
Oh, yeah, because they're a credible source, too. Alejandro Rojas, yeah.
The case very nicely. It was published on November 5th, 2009. So, and I don't have any animations on this one, it looks like.
Oh, no.
So you get the whole thing at once. That's my bad. Anyway, there's the link. And so Open Minds says, or actually, no, this is an article they copied. And I believe that he's talking about Breccia. This is my opinion. But we don't really know if it's Breccia. It could have been Gaspare.
I don't even know who this article is talking about, but I'm going to tell you who it's talking about. This is such garbage. And you know what? Before I forget, we're going to do something else here. Bear with me, friends. All right. So his entire sourcing for this story so far is from a public wiki that anybody can edit. Right? So we're going to edit it right now, live on air, right? And we're going to show you how stupid it is that he is citing this stupid website that anybody can edit it, because we're going to edit it right now. Okay, let's see. Just bear with me, friends. And again, I'm citing fair use. And this is from the UFO Alien Fandom website, okay? This is where he got all this information, right? And you see that edit button there? So anybody can put information in here. Nothing is fact-checked. Nothing is sourced. There's no burden of proof on anybody posting anything to prove that what they're editing in is correct. So we're going to edit it. All right, whatever. And I'm going to write David Wilcock sold this fake story to stupid people. Well, I don't want to say stupid people. I'll say gullible people. gullible people by citing this website, which anyone can edit. It is not fact-checked or proven. It is not fact-checked. Nothing here requires real sources, facts, or real evidence. Anyone can say anything here. David Wilcock ran with this terrible source as proof this story is true. All right, now we're going to save it. All right, and now we're going to see that the article is now updated with what I put in there. David Wilcock, here, look. Okay, so now it says many hundreds of people in several countries. David Wilcock sold this fake story to gullible people by citing this website, which anyone can edit. It is not fact-checked. Nothing here requires real sources, facts, or real evidence. Anyone can say anything here. David Wilcock ran with this terrible source as proof that this story is true. There you go, David Wilcock. That's what you look. Look. I can change that whole article right now. I can change that whole article. I can put real facts and evidence in there. Just wanted to display to you how stupid it is for him to be citing this as a source. I just edited it, and they didn't require anything from me to edit it and add information in there. Oh, this is so funny. All right, so let's get back to Mr. Wilcock. We got a lot more to go through. I don't know how much more we're going to go through. We'll probably have to do a part 2, friends. Thank you for your patience. And yeah, I'm going to stop sharing that. And we're going to cite fair use again. And we're going to go back to sharing David Wilcock, because now he's got 2 sources. Open Minds TV. Sorry, not the most credible. Not the most credible media source. You know, it's not like he's citing CNN or Fox News or, you know, the New York Times or the Washington Post here. He's sharing any garbage he finds on the internet that supports his pre-made, you know, conclusions that this is a real story. I'm sorry, David Wilcock. You gotta get better at this. This is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. Let me do this one more time, because I always do that. I forgot to share the audio. Okay. Let me try it one more time, friends. Just bear with me. I really need a producer to do this stuff. All right, share audio. There we go. All right, friends, back to David Wilcock. We'll see how much more of this garbage I can take, but I think I'm running out of steam here.
And again, in 2009, Breccia went forward, so this all makes good sense that it was him. In October 2008, a person got in touch with me who, having learned that I was interested in crop circles, wanted to make my acquaintance. I went to meet him, we talked for more than an hour, and then this person asked me if I could help him divulge a very important story in an objective way. This person could not, for some reasons, come out in the open himself, thus he needed an intermediary, which was this person. So again, this, I believe, is Stefano Breccia. All right, let me fix a couple of these slides real quick, everybody, because I want to just, I'm so obsessive about this. I've got to have, oh, the flash bulbs are on this one. Okay, good. There we go. No problemo. Oh, it's only one flash bulb. All right, well, we don't have time to fix that, so we're just going to keep moving.
Oh, forget the slides, dude.
Sorry about the lack of bullet points. The story of friendship, or simply the story as we always called it, is a true one. It involved a group, and I believe this is Stefano reading. This is his testimony. So
he doesn't even know who is the author of this stuff. He just copied and pasted it super quick from Open Minds TV. He doesn't even know who's saying this.
Skipped ahead.
It could be Alejandro Rojas saying these things, not the author of the book, bro. You at least get the source right. If you're going to copy and paste shit from the internet, David Wilcock.
Now to where he's telling you what he experienced, okay? And I've never seen anything else that gets this specific. So this is the best resource. It involved a group of Italian and non-Italian people for many years between 1956 and
he just said this is the first. He said, I don't know who's saying this. I think it's this guy. And then he said, this is the best resource. So the best resource is a source that he doesn't even know who's reading or writing this stuff. Great, David Wilcock. What, man, you get Researcher of the Year award. You don't even know who's saying this, and you're saying that this is the best resource. Jeez, God, David Wilcock, you got to get better at this, bro. You need to take some lessons in bullshitology or something.
Case, 1990. So these ETs were still contacting him all the way up to 1990. Some of these people, including myself, are still alive. We had direct face-to-face meetings with the friends, also called the W56.
All right, so it must have been somebody involved with the case and not Alejandro Rojas, but he doesn't even know if which one of the guys involved in the case is saying this stuff.
Who are extraterrestrials coming both from planets in our own galaxy at a distance of 100,000 light years and from other galaxies. That's interesting. Here on the Earth, they reached the maximum number of 200. I guess there was some kind of law they had where they couldn't have more than 200 people here. So they had their maximum number of 200 people living inside.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should make that bigger. There we go.
Underground and undersea bases, some of them along the Adriatic coast at a depth of about 20 kilometers or 12 miles.
There's your slides, Jonas.
So now this is a scene from the documentary on Italian television that shows you the location of one of these underground facilities. This is what it would look like from the top down. And then this is where it would look if you see it underneath the ground.
Yeah, and then he's going to give a great reason for why these guys claim that they were in these underground bases hanging out with the aliens. So my first question would be, can you take me to one of those underground bases? Even if the aliens aren't there anymore, I'd like to see their base. There's going to be a great explanation for why nobody could see these underground bases. It is just like a Corey Good story. It's like, let's take away any way that people can prove or disprove this.
So this, interestingly enough, what they say in the documentary is that these bases are temporary. They're created by some sort of process where all the ground underneath the Earth is simply pushed off to the side by some kind of energetic technology that they have. And it becomes a much thicker, solid mass around the edges of this room, okay? So you have a room that's like a big rectangle, but they created the room. And here's where it gets interesting. They have to make sure the power system is always running because the whole thing is constantly at risk of snapping back and closing on them if they don't leave the power on.
Oh, no.
Where it gets very bizarre and more like what you would expect with extraterrestrials is that apparently if the group that the ETs were contacting did not sufficiently work in a two-way fashion with them, if they didn't have a give and take, then the ETs wouldn't be allowed to stay on Earth. They wouldn't be their technology.
Okay, and this next point that he makes is completely and totally ridiculous because just remember that he's saying that these aliens came from 100,000 light years away. They have the technology to travel 100,000 light years. Now, listen to what he's going to say right now.
Technology wouldn't keep the base open, and it would close up on them, actually. So what sadly eventually happened is that the people in this group, enough of them went negative that the ETs did have to withdraw. They couldn't keep the bases open anymore. The technology apparently won't hold the ground open for them unless they're authorized to be here. So this is where it's really cool because
it's not that cool, David.
Relationship got formed with these beings where if you want to get the rides, if you want to go see their underground facility, you want to go tour their UFO for 90 minutes, you want to hang out with them, you have to pay for it. And this is a common thing, actually. A lot of people...
You got to pay to hang out with the aliens.
Nothing, but these beings actually said, if you want us to work with you, you have to help us too, and we're going to help each other. So what did they want as payment? Interestingly enough, they asked for things like clothing and food. So in the storyline, what we hear is that these people, in order to continue to be in contact with these ETs, they would load up truckloads filled with fruits and vegetables and groceries, or clothing, or in some cases both. They would have the driver park the truck, and go in for like a 1 hour lunch break. And then they would tell him, we're going to unload the truck while you're gone. What actually would happen, according to the documentary, is that all of the items inside the truck would vanish instantly. The beings could portal them out anytime they wanted. And so really what was important is the group. And you remember, there was some wealthy people in this group. So they were paying for the food, paying for the clothes, and then making sure that these deliveries happen with the truck at the right time, at the right place.
Yeah, this is so ridiculous. So an alien species with the technology to travel 100,000 light years through space to get to Earth needs humans to give them fruits and vegetables and clothing, even though they have teleportation technology where they could just beam shit, right? This makes absolutely zero sense. These aliens can come from 100,000 light years away, but they need humans to give them food and clothing? Okay. Maybe, just maybe, and of course this is my speculation, that some gullible rich people in Italy were just getting scammed by people for free food. Truckloads of free food and clothing that they could then resell. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know, but I don't think that this was aliens. Just my opinion.
This was part of how the contract was established. So the higher beings are specific about this. They're not just going to hand you
exactly,
things.
AJ.
You also have to give something back. And that's
why didn't they just portal them out?
Okay, so back to the slide once again. The first historical base was located under the area of Ascoli Piceno, a small town in central Italy. Now I shall briefly refer to things that derive exclusively from what I was involved in personally during an extensive part of my life and from our direct conversations with the friends. I have live voice recordings of these, or viva voce, with the friends' own voices. So here's the thing, folks. Let's just say that disclosure becomes a big deal. Let's just say that the people that are giving us disclosure try to come out and say, well, the beings have never talked to us. We don't know what they want. We don't know what they've said. They've never said anything.
Oh no, some guy from Italy has voice recordings of aliens from the 1950s, right? Sure, David Wilcock, sure. And again, in case you missed the point on the base, you can't see any of the alien bases that these people hung out with the aliens at, because all the bases were temporary and they just closed right up when the aliens left. So they can't take you back to any of these bases. How convenient that nobody can prove or disprove the existence of these hundreds of alien bases that these people were claiming were all over Europe. How convenient. And David Wilcock doesn't have a problem with that part of the story. He thinks that's perfectly logical.
That is a lie. I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't be that specific. Let's just say it might not be true. But either way, however you want to frame this, we as a society should not tolerate a partial disclosure, because the people I'm talking to are saying you're only going to get 1% of what we really know here.
How does he know we're only going to get 1%? Is that from his briefings, from his intel? Because we all know how great his intel was, right? And how accurate his information has been for the past 4 years, or 20 years for that matter. Nothing this guy talks about ever turns out to be real.
So even apart from all the other stuff, let's go back to the 1950s and let's look at what these beings had to say. Well, look, people like, if either of these guys are still alive, and hopefully they'll stay alive, Gaspare de Lama, Stefano Breccia, they should be asked. This story about the Italian case should be brought back up. And the reason why is that there are hundreds of photographs. There's voice recordings of the beings talking. The beings would pose for pictures. They would actually...
Yeah, and we're going to show you some of that, and it is garbage. There's no clear photographs. There's no hundreds of photographs.
Tell you, go at this point, at this time, we will show up in the sky, and you can take pictures of us, and it actually worked. You're going to see those pictures in just a minute. Let's go back to the slide. So friendship...
Yeah, I guess he's got people like Jonaside hypnotized with these, with these fancy slides with the animations, right, Jonaside? He is the master of the slides.
Gathers together various ET populations that are different from each other, both as regarding their physical characteristics, as in there are tall, small, and giant friends, and their provenance. There are friends from other universes and dimensions. However, all of these beings share a fundamental choice towards good, i.e., they are what we would call the positive, benevolent ETs, right? Human ETs. Friendship is a sort of transversal confederation on the basis of a common ideal of life and thought, though great diversifications remain between populations and individuals and between personal choices.
Marshmallow
this is the very
asparagus.
opposite of ideological standardization. And apparently, again, he got to meet them in person, so he's speaking from an informed perspective. And once we start to realize that UFOs are real, why wouldn't they have done something like this in the 1950s, especially with all the hardcore evidence that was left behind and the impeccable credibility of the literal hundreds of people who were involved in this thing? The population whom we personally interacted with is composed of individuals, men and women like us, who are physically very beautiful. This is important.
Yes, they need food and clothing.
Some about
they can
3 meters or
teleport.
10 feet tall, while others are quite
tiny. They
tiny.
can travel 100,000 light years, but they need food and clothing.
Only. What is important is what they represent beyond the various typologies and endless folkloristic singularities. The friends are our elder brothers. They are human. Indeed, in comparison, it's we terrestrials who are less than human. They are much more human than
could have been a mafia
are.
scam.
This is the first time I've ever heard this. This is really cool. They are much more human than we are, and that is why they do not show themselves. They are too human. For us, it is easy to flatter them, but envying them is even easier due to their perfect humanness. So the idea here is that these people look great. They're in amazing physical shape.
Much like the Nordic aliens, right? All of the American 50s contactees were talking to real hot blonde chicks with large breasts, right? Hot blonde chicks with large breasts. Those were the aliens that they were seeing. And in this case is no different. They were super attractive people. Sure they were.
Stunning to be around, and they have all these abilities that if we were more...
And here's another one. Go ask any planetary scientist or evolutionary biologist. What are the odds that some alien species comes from 100,000 light years away from us and they look exactly like us? Exactly like us. Maybe slightly more attractive. Maybe they got bigger breasts if they're chicks and they're blonder and they got blue eyes, but they look exactly like humans. What are the odds?
More human and our pineal gland is activated, let's say, then we would have these abilities, because the human being is much more powerful than what we have now.
Yeah, we're supposed to get the superpowers, right, David Wilcock? Maybe the aliens already have their superpowers and we're waiting to get ours. You said it was going to happen in the year 2000. Then he said it was going to happen in 2012. Where's our superpowers, David Wilcock? I want my superpowers.
And the human...
You promised us superpowers, David Wilcock.
Being appears over and over and over again all throughout our galaxy and likely throughout the universe. And if Christians have a hard time with that, then once we get back to the idea that the Logos, the Christ, was the mind of the galaxy, if Jesus comes here to embody the Logos, then that would mean that other planets could have beings that look human as well, and they all ultimately are part of the Christ. And that... why limit the Christ, right? If we're finding all these intelligent planets where intelligent life could occur because they got liquid water, and NASA's now saying we got potentially 40 billion of them that are Earth-like just in our galaxy. 40 billion.
Okay, yeah, there he goes. He's going to say a fact, so now watch. I bet you he's going to tack on a bunch of bullshit on top of a fact.
Earth-like planets in our galaxy. This is official NASA. You've seen me say this before. It kind of makes more sense that there would be some sort of universal mind that everybody would be governed with if you look at this idea of one infinite creator, cosmic consciousness, and a living organic biological universe, right?
Oh, that was some word salad there.
So sure enough, human can go a lot farther than it does here, and so these beings are actually more human than we are. Isn't that something? Back to the slide. Other populations in the universe have chosen evil. And so he's saying there are good and evil ETs. This is very important.
Genocide wants.
Evil is
There's
often
some more slides for you.
by the adoration of energy and knowledge science. Well,
yeah, they could go to the thrift store.
This dualism between good and evil is fundamental in order to understand both the still ongoing struggle, which is the struggle over who's going to win this thing, the good guys, the bad guys, and why it is so hard for truth to be disclosed to the inhabitants of our planet. The struggle between good and evil has always existed and is real. It is not an invention or a stage effect. This is all coming to a head right now, folks.
Yeah, those Nordic
So these
aliens
beings
are
are telling
hot.
him all this stuff beginning in 1956 or whenever he got contact.
Yeah, they're here to be more
The
attractive
wicked are
than
not the
Earth
result
women
of a
and
failed
make Earth
scientific
women have,
experiment. They can freely
you know,
choose to
bad
change
self-esteem.
and follow the good. That's nice. This struggle between good and evil also entered the life of the terrestrials in our group and transformed them into particular beings. And again, what ends up happening is when you hear the documentary, some of the people started to behave selfishly and the beings had to withdraw. And so they lost their ability to work with this large of a group of people.
So apparently, according to David Wilcock, when humans are selfish or, you know, not of a particular love and light vibration, the aliens can't talk to us no more. Isn't that sad? So if you ever get a chance to talk to aliens, make sure you keep your vibration high and talk to them aliens.
Because of the selfishness of certain members. In other words, if you start turning negative, the beings will cut you off and they will ghost you, essentially. And that appears to be what happened here. We had various types of experiences, both mental, moral,
yeah, I miss
and
Mario.
phenomenal.
He too pragmatic.
We had face-to-face encounters with some of the friends. We had conversations with them. We saw their saucers and other flying objects.
There's the source, more human than human.
And we had very close sightings of materializations and dematerializations. He's talking here about things like physical objects popping into the room.
Matt wants his superpowers too. So do I. Where's my superpowers?
There's a lot of that stuff that happened to them. There were visits and even long stays
just
inside the underground bases. So this is a very significant contact. And
no, they just regurgitate the same garbage everybody else.
Up until now, for the most part, we've had a very dismissive attitude about UFOs in the mainstream media, in the global community. People
they all got boob
jobs,
Jill D.
They like to make fun of people. They like to insult. This is not something to be insulted. So what we're going to show you now is the magazine from Italy, Domenica del Corriere. And this magazine features photographs that were staged by these beings. And before you...
All right, now we're getting to the good stuff. Remember, he said there was hundreds of clear photographs, hundreds of them. He's going to show you like 3 of them, because there ain't many. There ain't hundreds, David Wilcock.
If you look at these photographs, I want to remind you that they were extensively... There's hundreds of these photographs. I'm only going to show you a few. They've been extensively analyzed by forensic experts for decades.
That's a factually inaccurate statement, David Wilcock. Show me the names of the people who did this research, who forensically analyzed these photographs. Show me their names, show me their qualifications, show me their education, and show me their reports on each photograph they analyzed. He can't. And neither can the guys who came up with this story. That is a claim that they make, that these photographs, just like Billy Myers says, well, we've had all these image analysts declare the photographs are real. No, they had a UFO crackpot that wasn't even a real UFO, wasn't even a real image analyst say the photos were real. Not a real image analyst. And this is a similar circumstance in this case. The people selling this story in the form of books, magazine articles, tabloid newspapers claim that they have hundreds of photographs, but they won't show us the hundreds of photographs. Then they claim that the hundreds of photographs have been forensically analyzed and proven to be genuine. No, they haven't. And David Wilcock just repeats the same lies that the dummies that originally sold this story said. He has no proof. He has no evidence. I challenge you, David Wilcock. Give me the names of the people that did the forensic analysis of these photographs. You can't, because even the guys who sell this story can't produce their names or give you proof or evidence about this claim. And they never will, David. And you ran with it. And here you go. I caught you with your pants down again. You didn't have your facts in hand before putting your mouth in gear. You're just repeating garbage you read on the internet as if it was factually accurate, and it's not.
And no one has ever found any evidence of foul play or it being smaller objects that were thrown up into the air and photographed. Nothing like that. There is no credible evidence of fraud here. And in these cases...
Well, I may give them that. There may be no credible... Nobody's analyzed them and said they were fake, but nobody's analyzed them and said that they were real either. So we're at an impasse there. This goes under the concept of falsifiability. And in my estimate, for those that don't know, falsifiability is information which can neither be proven factually correct or factually not correct. Therefore, it has no evidentiary value. These pictures and these claims have no evidentiary value because no one has proven that they're real and no one has analyzed them and proven that they are fake. But I think most people could look at these things and say, this is hokey as shit. This is most likely fake. The burden of proof is on the person telling and selling the story, David Wilcock. You're the one telling and selling this story. Show us the proof that these things are real. You can't, and you never will.
Cases where these photographs were taken, you had groups of people who all saw the same thing in some cases while the pictures were being taken. So this is amazing. These very likely are real UFOs that you're going to see.
Very likely they're real. Okay, David. What's your evidence that they're very likely real? Some guy put these pictures in a book and said they were real? That's not evidence. That's a story. That's a neither proven or disproven story. All you have is stories. It's like David Wilcock's Mother Goose Hour listening to this guy.
From the good guys, benevolent human ETs. So here we go. So first of all, I'm going to show you the photograph of the magazine, Domenica del Corriere. And this is the first time that these pictures were published. So what we're seeing right here.
By the way, let's just back that up for a second.
Posed pictures where they posed for the shot. They said, get outside and we're going to show up and we'll pose for this.
Yeah, if they have hundreds of super clear photographs, why did they need to draw the cover of the magazine? It's because, number one, the pictures are not clear, right? And number two, there aren't hundreds of photographs. And look at this. Does this look like a super clear, high-resolution image to you? Because it's not. It's a super grainy, shitty photo.
This picture. So there you go. And if you look at the craft, you can actually see that it has a plasma sphere around it. It has a
now he's just inventing stuff. Oh yeah, there does appear to be a circle around the craft in the non-blow up version of this image.
corona. You can see a nice round circle around the craft. Well, that's probably from its energetic discharge.
Or it could be from somebody copying and pasting this into the negative. Jesus Christ.
It's flying in the air. So
look at
this case, interestingly enough,
is this a super clear photo? Really?
They said that due to the...
This is worse than Billy Meyer photos. Billy Meyer photos are less hokey and stupid than this. This is your proof of extraterrestrial contact, David Wilcock. Look at this. I got a 5-year-old that could probably make a better UFO model than that.
Slippage between dimensions, that there's a little area at the top of the craft where it kind of looks black. And this is like some kind of, I guess it's like an event horizon of the wormhole they're using. So
yeah, it could be the event horizon of a wormhole, David Wilcock, or it could be the eyelet on top of the craft that they're putting this string through, David Wilcock. What, Occam's razor, which one is more likely? That this is the event horizon of some kind of, singularity here that they're teleporting in and out of reality with, or that it's simply an eye hook that they're putting a string through.
The black dot on the top of the craft is not real. It's just an artifact caused by dimensional warping.
Oh, David Wilcock.
Other than that,
God
what you're seeing is a nice saucer with a domed roof. And this thing was flying all around. You can see it's the same trees. It's flying through the air. Apparently other people were witnessing this.
This is so bad. It looks like somebody taped some shit on top of a Frisbee, threw it in the air and took a picture. It really does.
And it's going in and out of focus as per the background where it's located.
Remember, he said there's hundreds of super clear photos. These pictures are all blurry, grainy, and degraded and terrible quality.
So then you have another shot, again, showing you this black thing on the top. That's the dimensional warp effect. Here's another interesting shot of it. And here they are getting closer to the ground. These shots.
Oh, this is definitely worse than David Wilcock. Definitely worse than Billy Meyer photos. Look at it. Billy Meyer at least made decent models. Look at this thing. Looks like it was glued together by a 5-year-old.
Again, have been forensically analyzed.
Show us the evidence of that.
And this
A
is one of
friend,
the
yeah,
ones.
they did. They had some friend of the author of the book say that he forensically. I want to see the guy's qualifications. I want to see the guy's education, and I want to see his scientific data proving that these are real, genuine craft, not models or whatever, or not spliced into the negative. I want to examine the negatives. He did no work on this before declaring this shit real. He just repeated the same talking points that the guy selling the book is telling you.
Ones where apparently they were able to get it done without the black dot appearing over the craft. So you actually here can see the UFO
I'm sorry,
itself.
I'll make this bigger so you can
and
see those bigger.
The faint outlines of two people who are standing and posing for the picture.
A nothing burger with heaps of mayo.
Now, of course,
Yes.
of course. So many people have felt they're emboldened by the mainstream media, at least up until recently.
Yeah,
so
I thought of
many
Rob
people
Zombie
have felt
too, Ethan.
that they can be arrogant, rude, condescending, disrespectful, insult our intelligence as UFO researchers or just UFO enthusiasts. Oh, this is BS. These pictures are staged. It's so fake. It's so phony. They're out of focus. Well, part of the reason why they're out of focus is apparently that they're not quite in our reality here.
Okay, yeah, and listen, here he's got an explanation for now remember, he said earlier that there's hundreds of clear photographs. Then he shows us the photographs and they're all blurry and grainy as shit. So which is it, David Wilcock? Now he's trying to explain why they're blurry. And listen to this garbage. Oh, he's got an excellent explanation, right? What is it? Quantum vacuum, or they're teleporting in and out of reality, so the pictures are always going to be blurry. But you said that they were clear before you showed us them. Now you're making excuses for why they're blurry and grainy as shit. And no offense, David Wilcock, but any credible, real researcher would ask the same questions I would. Where's the forensic analysis? Where's the reports? Where's the scientific data proving that these are real images of a certain size, that these are real craft flying in the air and not models on strings? You can't show us that. If he had that information, if he had that proof, friends, he would have showed it to try to prove his arguments. He's got nothing. He's got grainy-ass, blurry-ass photographs of something that looks like it could be a Frisbee thrown in the air for all we know. And he's telling you that there's verified scientists that examine these, but he won't give us the names. He won't show us the forensic analysis report, the image analyst's report on why these are real, because he doesn't have that.
They're warping in and out of our reality.
Oh, that's why they're warping in and out of our reality. Sure, David Wilcock.
You have Consul Alberto Perigo, a high-ranking military official who was directly involved in this, meeting these beings in person, hundreds of people involved, top-level scientists, many eyewitnesses, audio recordings, all kinds of stuff that all has come out.
And by the way, the audio recordings are just as hokey as these pictures that we've just seen. But my favorite are the pictures of the aliens. I'm going to show you some of that.
So again, back to the slide. Many people saw these tall, giant humans.
Yeah, and they have hundreds of clear photographs. But again, they got to show us crayon drawings of the aliens. They can't show us a clear image of this giant alien with these contactee people. Why? Why, David Wilcock? Is it maybe because this is garbage and fake?
Meeting with them, and they were saying, we're going to give this a try. Talk
Again with the alien
and see if this is going to work. See if
giant.
We can approach you. See if we can talk to you. Tell you some things, and maybe kind of move the ball forward. It didn't really work out that way, but here again is a nice up close, zoomed in shot of this craft. Now, is it possible that somebody could fake this? I guess it's possible.
David Wilcock, I could fake this in an afternoon. In 2 hours, I could fake this and do a better job. And it would be clearer and more believable.
But again, the Italians themselves have been studying this for decades. So some armchair researcher who just wants to be loud and arrogant doesn't know as much as the people who've spent decades actually studying the negatives, the original negatives.
Okay, David, show us the names of the people who spent decades studying the negatives. If I'm an armchair researcher, then you're worse than me, because I got to tell you, David Wilcock, I have my facts in hand before putting my mouth in gear. You are purposefully misleading people, telling them, repeating talking points from the people who originally sold this story. Show us the people that have been studying these negatives. Show us their reports. Show us their scientific data. He can't and he won't. This is a bluff. And I'm calling your bluff, David Wilcock. Where's the data? I can hire a real image analyst to go over the data you have and confirm or deny if it's accurate scientific data. Give it to us. You're so sure that this shit is real? You're so sure that people have been analyzing these negatives for decades? Italian officials? What Italian officials? Name them. This is a David Wilcock bullshit bluff. He's got nothing, and I'm the guy holding the aces because I've got a little bit more information on this case than you do. David Wilcock, show us your data. He won't. He can't.
And finding no evidence of fraud, investigating people under polygraph, they're not lying.
All right, show us the polygraphs. Show us the polygraph examinations. Show us the scientific data. Give us the names of the polygraph examiners who asked these people. Again, another bluff. This is all bluffs to sell a story. None of this so-called proof will ever be produced. Show it to us, David. Where is it? Who is the polygraph examiner? Who are the image analysts? Give us their names. If they're Italian officials, give us their ranks, their serial numbers, their position within the Italian government. He can't, and he won't, because this is a terrible bluff. He read some shit on the internet and decided it was all true, and he didn't do his homework. He just read what these people said, and he didn't dig even a little bit to find out if those claims were accurate or not. He did zero fact-checking. But don't worry, David Wilcock, I did it for you.
This is a huge, huge story. So back to the slide. Now I'm going to read you more about this case. These experiences marked our personal lives deeply and indelibly and caused us to become particularly vulnerable to the laws, regulations, and conventions of our own reality and society where we continued to live and work. With the exception of a few of us who did choose to spend the rest of their lives together with the friends. What we experienced with the friends goes beyond any imagination. Well, doesn't that sound really cool? I don't know. I mean, I would be tempted to just say, yeah, let's go.
David Wilcock, you know what? I was going to say I really wish that David Wilcock would just get on a spaceship so I don't have to listen to any more of his garbage. Get on a spaceship and disappear, David Wilcock. But you know what? I'm going to forgive you for being a terrible researcher. I'm going to forgive you for not fact-checking. I'm going to forgive you for spreading falsehoods, half-truths, and made-up fake stories about aliens to your huge, huge platform of people. I'm going to forgive you for being too lazy to fact-check any of this shit. I'm going to forgive you.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
And that actually was mirrored in this movie here, Cocoon.
Oh, this is another great thing. Remember, he said that Star Wars is basically a documentary. Now he's going to claim that Cocoon is a true story. Okay, David Wilcock.
Where, you know, the character Wilford Brimley, we won't get sick, we won't get any older, and we won't ever die, right? And so the old people decide they don't want to die, so they all get taken up by the ETs in this beautiful ascension ending for the movie. This might actually not just be fiction, but apparently is based on truth. As a consequence,
you heard it here first. A Truthseekers exclusive. David Wilcock says Cocoon is basically a true story.
Absolute silence with other people has been the most normal reaction from us, together with our continuous thinking about our experiences over the decades. It was and still is a kind of mental mulling and a constantly growing awareness of what actually happened, together with the realization that it cannot easily be put into words. Doesn't this sound like somebody who actually is telling the truth? Doesn't this sound like somebody who has had an experience or a series of experiences that changed his life so dramatically? Why would he want to talk to people? Why would he want to have everybody go, right? I mean, we know this.
Oh, I got to timestamp that and clip that out.
This is what happens. So, like, yeah, they're not talking. But finally, they came out with this documentary, and we at least got some of the information. Some of us paid a very high price for being singled out and we were abandoned in our established work and social life patterns. That's very sad.
Yeah. You know what? This just goes on and on. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to drop out of this, and I'm going to show you some of the incredible proof of the friendship case that he didn't show you. Some of the hokey garbage, so-called clear photographs. I found some. It's great. I found some in an article. Oh, yeah. Clear photographs. Right. Clear photographs. Okay. 1 second, friends. I'm just getting this queued up. All right. So remember, there's supposed to be hundreds of clear photographs that were all forensically analyzed, right, by experts that concluded there was no, that they were genuine, right? First of all, how can an image analyst look at a photograph and say, yeah, that's a real alien, a real 10-foot tall alien? Okay. All right. So I'm going to cite fair use. Once again, we're educating the public on this friendship case that David Wilcock ran with without fact-checking a single thing from the story and the talking points of the people who were selling the story for 40 years, 50 years. This is from an article called Friendship Case, Italy's Secret UFO Contact, Photographs of Alien and UFO Cabin. Okay. All right. There you go. Wow. Look at that super clear photograph of a 10-foot tall alien. This, my friends, is a super clear photograph. Alleged 10 feet human looking otherworldly entity. Wow. Look at that. That's a 10-foot tall alien, friends. Why? Because the guy selling the story said it was a 10-foot tall alien. Yeah. This is the quality of the super clear photographs. And I look, he looks like he's got like a Hawaiian shirt on, like he's on vacation in Italy, right? What's the proof that this is a 10-foot tall alien? This is absolute garbage. This case is absolutely hokey garbage. Oh, here we go. Here's some more super clear photographs. Look at them. I don't know if the website did this, but every place that I find these photographs, this is the interior of the spaceship. Really? Wow. Look at that. This is the hundreds of photographs, and this is what we get for proof. Look at this. It's super grainy. You can't even see it. And this is the interior of the spaceship. It looks like children's toys glued together or plastic bits glued together. Total garbage. That's what we get for proof. And David Wilcock is going to stand there with a straight face and tell us that image analysts analyzed these and have been studying these negatives for decades, and they can find no proof that these were hoaxed or fake, right? Wow. What garbage. This is the level of garbage. And I'm sorry, but I already listened to this whole 3-hour thing earlier today. We got through, let's see, I'm going to timestamp where we're at. We're going to do a part 2. We're up to an hour and 12 minutes. So we're almost halfway through this shit show. And I got to tell you, I am not impressed, David Wilcock, with your fake story. And I am equally not impressed with the fact that you did zero fact checking and you don't even know that they're bluffing about all this so-called proof and evidence that they have. Right? Oh, and I have one other thing that I want to make sure that I share. Because later in the video, David Wilcock goes on to talk about the American 1950s contactee cases, and their proof and evidence is even stupider looking and even hokier and even faker than this friendship case stupid pictures. And oh my God, here we go. He talks later about George Adamski and the other George that created the Integratron. A giant rock. But anyway, both of those gentlemen's so-called proof of aliens was super hokey and stupid. But David Wilcock is going to tell you that these people really did talk to aliens in the 1950s, human-like ETs, right? So I'm going to show you some of Adamski's so-called proof and evidence that he was seeing aliens and he got to take rides on flying saucers. Those aliens let him ride on their flying saucers. This is George Adamski, who was super hokey, and much more hokey even than Billy Meyer, right? Actually, looking at this garbage gives me a little more appreciation for the artistry that went into at least the models that Billy Meyer made and, hung on strings and photographed and pretended were real alien spacecraft. All right, here we go. And again, we're going to cite fair use. This is a transformative work. We are educating the public about the 1950s so-called alien contactee, George Adamski. Here we go. What is George Adamski's proof that he was really in contact with aliens? Proof that he was really riding on and seeing flying saucers? Here's his proof. Here's his proof, ladies and gentlemen. Let's watch this incredible proof. And now remember that David Wilcock is saying that these people really did talk to aliens. They really did fly on UFOs and flying saucers. They took rides on flying saucers with the aliens, right? Here's George Adamski's proof. Wow, look at that flying saucer. It looks so genuine, David Wilcock. And by the way, Solar Marshall did an excellent job proving that this flying saucer was made out of a oil lantern. And some other bits and parts, but look at that. That's the proof that Adamski was seeing real flying saucers. Friends, I don't think I've ever seen anything hokier and faker looking than this. And George Adamski was largely and later discredited completely. Jonaside with a kind and generous $2 super chat donation. First of the night, by the way. For those that think I'm making a mint up here, we've made a total of $2 thanks to the kindness, the generosity, and the support of Jonaside. I thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. I apologize that I don't have slides of my own, but I thought maybe letting David Wilcock share some slides would hold you over until I finish my slides. So thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. Oh, an all-around arbiter with a kind and generous $5 donation said, I would trust Lionel from Alien Contactee over David Wilcock. Let me get that. Where is it? When did you do that? Recently? Oh, yeah, recently. Okay, here we go. There we go. So we want to recognize all-around arbiter for his kindness, his generosity, and support. I'm up to $7. I made almost Taco Bell wages for 1 hour of today's 2-hour broadcast. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show and continued support of the show. It is much appreciated. We are a viewer-supported show. So if you'd like to see more shows like this, more coverage of the real truth behind the alien cons, please do support us. You can support us on Patreon. There's links in the About section. That's $1 a month or more, whatever you choose to give. You can make a PayPal donation from the About section, or really the best way to send us a few bucks is that $sign over there in the live chat. You click the $sign, you tell you say what you want to give, and then you can make a comment. We read every single person's super chat here. So if you send a super chat, we thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support, and we write whatever you say. And you can say whatever you want. You could say Steve's full of shit and his show sucks, and I'll read it. I don't care. So here's George Adamski's proof that he was talking to aliens. Look at that. That is terrible. So for those unaware, the 1950s contactee cases have been largely discredited and disproved and proven to be largely horseshit by any serious or credible researcher, author, documentary filmmaker. Really, almost everybody that I know that is into UFOs, especially seriously into UFOs, the 1950s cases were largely laughable. They were largely laughed at because the so-called evidence is these pictures that are so hokey and stupid looking and totally fake looking that you wonder how anybody could have believed that stuff. But it was the 1950s, and people, I guess, people were people wanted to believe, and people were a little less sophisticated back then, right? And this was the beginning of people seeing images of flying saucers. So how do we know what a flying saucer is supposed to look like? I still don't know, really, right? What a flying saucer would really look like, because we never get clear photographs. It's kind of like Bigfoot. The photographs are always blurry, low image quality. The videos are always super resi and, obscured in some way, low quality, blurry. That's what we get for this so-called proof. AJ says these aliens send all their learner pilots to Earth for practice. That's why one crashes every now and then. Yeah. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna find a musical guest so that I could take a bathroom break real quickly, and then I'm gonna devote my full and total attention to the live chat. Yeah. And we will continue. I'm going to take some time to talk to the live chat. So if you have comments or questions for me in the live chat, we are going to play a musical guest so that I can take a quick break, and then we will continue with the festivities. So comments or questions for me, it really does help me. Put your comments or questions for me in the live chat. Jill D says, well, Truthseekers, I'm glad you spent the time watching the stream so I don't have to. Yeah, we might not even do a part 2, but I think we could. So we will probably do that. Don't worry about it, F. Graf. I appreciate your support. You can like, comment, share this stuff on your social media. That's just as good as a couple of bucks, right? Bernard Conkin, that is not the case. There is a look up my previous YouTube channel called Stephen Cambion, and then look for a video called Encounter in the Forest. I did indeed see a UFO as a child. That's what got me started down this rabbit hole. So I have experienced a UFO, and that's what got me so interested in UFOs and aliens. I just really want to get to the bottom of what it is that I saw, right? And I have read every book I could get my hands on, watched every documentary, read every website. I have done my due diligence trying to research this stuff to get to the so-called truth. And I would say, 30 years after the event with me happened as a child, I am still no closer to the truth. And I would also say that anybody who tells you they know the truth about UFOs is full of shit. That's how you know they don't really know. Because most serious researchers, including Jacques Vallée and others, have said, I have no idea what this phenomenon is, right? Matt says, where's your proof, Stephen? No, I have an experience and a story, which is really hard to prove, but the thing that I saw was seen by other people in my town. So if you want to call that proof, I really don't care what people think. I told the story of my experience just to sort of get it off my chest, right? And to share my experience. And so many people want to know, yeah, and six cents. Well, Quick on the Draw finds the exact video, which is really audio recording of the Midnight Hour show, where I tell the story of my own UFO encounter as a child. Yeah. So we are going to welcome a musical guest, Michelle. So friends, we're going to welcome a musical guest, and I will be returning to interact with the live chat. Comments or questions for me, put them in all capital letters. I would be happy to spend a little more time with you. So let's hear from our musical guest, and I will be right back, friends. Stand by.
I've been so alone for so long.
Welcome back, friends. Oh, there's a glitch in the matrix. Oops, sorry. Let me fix that. There we go. So I am back, back for the attack here, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time here with the live chat. Any comments or questions from me? Please do put them in all caps. Otherwise, we're going to bounce out of here. We're already 20 minutes over 2 hours. You know, speaking of people doing long streams, right? I'm going to do shout outs now. We're going to try to get everybody. I hate doing this sometimes though, because I always feel like I might miss somebody. If I miss you in the live chat, please do remind me that you're here and I missed you. So shout out to Jonaside, shout out to Sixth Sense, shout out to Cheryl J. Jeanette Korzenko is here. Shout out to FGraph72. Shout out to Charles Unleashed. Shout out to Out of Mind. Shout out to Jill D. Bry is here. Shout out to Bry. Shout out to Bobby Dogstone. Bernard Conkin is here. AJ is here. Renee Miss Jonaside is here. Hollis Hurlbutt is here. GS Crippler is here. Of course, Sixth Sense I mentioned. Let's see. Who else do we have here? I'm looking for names that I haven't mentioned yet. And Pseudo Lucian is here. Welcome, Pseudo Lucian. And Matt Gadet is here. All Around Arbiter is here. Let's see. I mentioned Bobby Dogstone is here. Shout out to Bobby Dogstone. Welcome. AJ, Jill D. Let me see. Who else? Who else did I not mention? Having a tough time going way back here in this stuff. Yeah, it looks like we had a ton more people in the live chat than we're actually chatting, though. Spooky Bed Hair was here. Shout out to Spooky Bed Hair. There you go. I think we got most of the people that were here. I noticed CW Channer was here earlier. That was there was a bunch of people here earlier that did not make it through the long, diatribe stream tonight, and I got to tell you, I don't blame you. But shout out to everybody that was here. I can only go so far back in the chat, and so I'm sure that I missed some people. Spooky Bet here says, yay. Matt says I'm old now. Yes, it was just my birthday. And by the way, thanks everybody for the birthday wishes. It was much appreciated. Jonaside is asking, what's the plan for the cabin this weekend? I'm under the gun, Jonaside, because my wife is going to be here, and I got 2 weekends left to try to get the cabin ready. You can notice over there, I finished the door between the living room and the kitchen. We're in the kitchen now, and you can see up there, I finished the ceilings and everything. The whole kitchen is finished off now. So I got to work on the sunroom, and I got to work on the bathroom, which is far from being done. The bathroom needs ceilings. It needs a light fixture. I still have to put a couple of extra outlets in the kitchen before I declare the kitchen truly done. Let's see what else. I have to finish the front wall of the sunroom and try to start finishing the sunroom. Because for the summer, the sunroom is just going to be like probably just like a picnic table and some other stuff in there, like a lounge room. But if it's raining, we could still barbecue in there or whatever. Kind of like a covered patio, but with glass on all the walls. I don't know. I'll be posting pictures, Jonaside. Thank you for asking. No, some of it was actually purchased wood. And luckily, I bought most of the wood before this crazy inflation happened with the price of wood going up by like 300%. A 2x4 used to be $3. It's now like $10, Matt. The price of wood went through the roof. I had purchased most of this wood. This is tongue and groove pine, and it was in a woodshed out back to keep it out of the weather. And so basically, I purchased most of the wood that I needed to finish this room, but I only finished 3/4 of it, and then the rest of the wood was just laying there in the woodshed waiting for me to finish. So But yes, I have made an awful lot out of scrap wood here. Doors I've made out of scrap wood. Window frames I've made out of scrap wood. Um, I've made some furniture out of pallets and scrap wood. We're real big on reuse and recycle here. Cheryl J says, always a good time with Steven. And you are most welcome here, Cheryl J. I am glad that you are here. I'm having a good time with you. Wait, that sounded dirty. I don't want to get myself in trouble. Yeah, so Joe decided I got a ton of stuff to finish for the cabin. I'm going to, Sixth Design is mentioning construction materials went way up, that and meats in the stores. Yeah, everything goes up but your paycheck. And somehow we're still supposed to manage, right? You're not supposed to complain. You're just supposed to manage. You're supposed to still get along with the same money, right? But with everything costing 3 times as much as it used to. AJ says, government lurkers ghosting your show now because you're moving up in the ladder. Walls have ears, bro. Yeah. Well, according to Kerry Cassidy, I'm a CIA asset. Or I'm sorry, I'm a deep state asset. That's what I am. Bobby Dogstone asks about my Linux distro. It's called Altos, and you can go on Facebook and just search Altos, ALTOS, and you'll see Altos, the alternative operating system. Mine is a Linux designed for anybody because it runs from a thumb drive, or you could just copy one file to your hard drive and boot from a CD. And FGraph72 says it's distribution, not supply. Yeah, I talked to somebody that owns a lumber business, and they said their warehouse is chock full of plywood and 2x4s and all kinds of lumber. They can't get any trucking companies to move it where it needs to go to be sold. So, yeah. AJ says, show me your paycheck. Show us your paycheck. I don't know what you mean. If you mean my paycheck from the show, you got to see it tonight. We had a $2 and a $5 kind and generous donation through Super Chat. So, I'm $7 up on the world, though. Certainly not complaining. Every dollar does help. So I'd like to thank All Around Arbiter and Jonaside for the kind and generous Super Chat donations. And I would just like to tell them, praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank God, hallelujah. Somebody wants to see me continue doing this show. And I say praise the cash, because every dollar that I get, every dollar sent to this channel through a Super Chat makes a Stephen Cambian smile. It does. And I say praise the cash. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. I think we are going to go. We are going to do an end run around this. Sherry G says we can't work in our woods because 3/4 of the crew is in Quebec. Yeah, a lot of people are displaced because of the pandemic. Renee, I'm gonna make those slides just to shut up your husband. Do you know I'm having like panic attacks? Like, every time that I go to do a show, Miss Jonaside, I realize that I have not yet completed the Jonaside slides, and I have mini anxiety attack. Like, oh shit, Jonaside's going to be there busting my balls about the slides I didn't do yet. And I did do some of them. Actually, I'm going to be doing a slide presentation on my Linux operating system, which is something that I have to do anyway for business. So I thought, I'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone on that, right? Grade C beef. Oh no, you know what? All Around Arbiter, me and my wife used to love Taco Bell, and we used to go a lot, right? I don't know, like once every 2 weeks at least, we'd have Taco Bell night, and we got a gang of food, right? And then we would sit around and watch movies and stuff ourselves full of tacos and nachos and burritos and, chalupas or whatever else we liked there. But, in the last couple of years, it's gotten so incredibly expensive and small and not even good. So more often than not now, we make tacos at home. My wife just makes, a bunch of taco meat, and then we actually use soft flour tortillas that we fry in a little bit of oil for a few minutes on each side, or a minute on each side, just to crisp them up. And then my wife will put out, lettuce and salsa and tomatoes and and cheese and whatever else, the toppings, the queso sauce, the taco sauce, and we just go at it at home. It's much. I like my wife's tacos better than Taco Bell, right? So yeah. Now the Jonasides are asking for cue cards. No cue cards. You'll get the slides though. Mr. Jonah Slide. Yeah, that's what I'm going to start calling him, Jonah Slide. He's going to be disappointed because I'm going to do the slides and they're not going to be that impressive. They're just images, right? Matt Gadet says, we're going to have to start eating bugs if this keeps up. No, it's going to be time to eat the rich, Matt. I'm going to eat good. You know that Motorhead song, Eat the Rich? My kids bought a party pack for $50. The guy actually asked if they were having a party, told them 2 boys opening magic cards. Interesting. Prices of meat are going to go way up. Yeah, I'm considering Colorado meat plant was cyber attacked, and yeah, that's, you know, when the pipeline people paid the $4 million, $3 or $4 million ransom, I thought to myself, well, that's a sure sign of new cyber attacks coming soon to our country, and what is our government doing about it? I predict a lot more cyber attacks in the coming future, and I predict a lot of shortages, and I predict a lot of turmoil and chaos. And there's a reason, friends, besides that I've always wanted to build a cabin, that I'm building a cabin in the woods. And, you know, I have a family. I consider my role as the family protector to be a very serious role. And God forbid something should happen to destabilize our country. I want to have a safe place to go to that has, coincidentally, this place has plenty of protein walking around. There's deer everywhere. There is wild turkey everywhere. You can't really even walk around here without running into a flock of wild turkeys or 3 or 4 deer walking through your property or through the trail you're walking on. It is chock, and there's lakes everywhere here with big mouth bass and trout and streams with trout in them. So it's a good place to be in the event of problems. So I want to remind the listeners once again, if you're listening on the audio podcast, I want to remind you that the central hub of our show really is our YouTube channel. So just go to YouTube and search in the search bar for Truthseekers. Look for that weird guy with the sunglasses. That would be me, your host, Stephen Cambion. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button on the videos. Share these things on your social media. It really, really does help us. It really, really does help us to raise us in the search engines. And besides, if you're listening in audio podcast land, you're missing half the fun, which is the interactivity of our show. You hear me talking to the live audience and interacting with them. That's what we do here. So if you want to take part in the live broadcasts and the live chat, just come over to YouTube, search for Truthseekers, look for the weird guy with sunglasses, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell, and you too will know every time we do a live show. But we've been trying to keep things to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, generally Monday through Friday. But sometimes I don't, you know, I have other things going on, and we skip a day, and then we'll do a Saturday show. Lately, we have been doing Sunday shows at 9 p.m. as well. So it really depends, but we're trying to hit the sweet spot of 9 p.m. because according to Google Analytics, that's when most of my audience is online. So we're going to try to do the show when most people are online. 6th Sense reminding people you can email me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. Yes, I wanted to mention that you can support us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month, but I realize that it's a tough economy out there, so I'm going to put that back. So if you really enjoy the show and you'd like to get those Patreon benefits, we do a monthly journal, and I show some behind the scenes pictures or videos or screen tests of things that we're working on, like the multi-camera setup or these weird characters and masks and things. It really is a backstage pass. But if you're in reduced circumstances, we want to make sure to be inclusive of everyone, even especially people that are having a tough time. So I would say, if you really like the show and you're in reduced circumstances, whatever's going on, I don't need to know. Don't tell me. Just send me a message at truthseekershow@gmail.com and let me know that you'd like the PayPal, or excuse me, that you'd like the Patreon benefits, and I'll put you on the list that we have, and get you those links every month. AJ says, I need more product for my hair. Well, gel costs money, AJ, just saying. I'm a little bit in slob mode when I'm at the cabin, right? I'm lucky if I remember to bring a razor and shave and take a shower, because we have a sort of hillbilly shower system here, which is a 10-gallon pot of water that I heat up either on the wood stove or on the fire outside and bring it into the shower. And then I have this pump thing that goes up to the shower head. So it's kind of a hassle, but eventually we'll have a better shower system here. For now, it is what it is. And thanks to 6 Cents for sharing where you can find the audio podcast link on Spreaker. It's Spreaker.com/show/Truthseekers. Yeah, if you'd like to listen in audio podcast land, that's where you do it. Yeah, I'm a little strange now because before we were just a video show on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. And I didn't really worry about that air too much, but now I do because of the audio podcast. So we're still making a few adjustments. Those listening in audio podcast land, you are most welcome to join our community. And I apologize if things are going to be a little out of whack for a little while, but I promise you that we are making some adjustments to make the audio podcast better. I'm going to be adding some music bumpers that I talk over and fades and things like that, make it a little more professional. But for now, this will have to do. We simply copy the audio from our live show here and upload it, and it gets sent out through the RSS feed to virtually anywhere you get your podcast from. You can listen to Truth Seekers now. I'm very happy about that. Thanks for the people who've been downloading those and listening on various podcast networks like Spreaker and Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music and Spotify and everywhere else. Happy to be there so that people can find us anywhere. Matt Cadet is asking for strippers. Yes, those cost money too, but I've got some new ones coming, and I've got a new intro coming. Bernard Conkin says, Truth Seekers, you should interview Bruce Sees. All he records nightly UFOs on the moon through his telescope. He's based out of Montreal, Quebec, but also speaks English. Yeah, I'll give him I'll see if I can't contact him. Alien dancing girls are bust. Great minds think alike, Pragmagic, but be careful what you wish for. You really got to be careful what you wish for. All Around Arbiter, yeah, we were talking about tacos and how I'm eating tacos at home most of the time, or making tacos at home. That's probably my favorite comfort food, that and pizza. Of course, you guys know about my fascination with pizza, especially here at the cabin. I make wood-fired pizza in a wood-fired stove, wood-fired oven almost every time I'm here. So my favorite thing is the wood-fired pizza here. But a close second is taco night, right? What the more info on the mystery person who called in last weekend? I'm not sure who you mean. Bernard Conkin likes the current opener. Well, we're going to have more openers like it, Bernard, and we're just going to rotate them so it doesn't get so boring. All Around Arbiter says, I love my cosplay girls. Yeah, me too. I used to go and take my son and go to cosplay events because he would really like meeting like Batman and Superman. And, there was always very nice people that would take pictures with him and talk to him. This is my older son I'm talking about. But at the time, he was like 5, 6, and 7. There used to be. That's one of the only things, All Around Arbiter, that I miss about Philadelphia. We had a comic book shop within, I don't know, 3 or 4 blocks from where we lived. So I could put him in the wagon and we could go over to the comic book shop. And that was just something that we did, like Father-Son Day. Like, let's just go to the comic shop, and I would get him some comic books and some toys and things they had there. And he could talk to superheroes. There was always somebody there hanging out dressed up as, like, one day you'd go there and there'd be a Captain America there. The next day you'd go there and there'd be a Spider-Man there. So it was a good place to take my kid. And by the way, if anybody's still listening in Philadelphia, and I believe that some people are who grew up with me, I'm talking, of course, about Ontario Street Comics. Love to the Captain. Hope he's doing well if he's listening. Him and his sons run that place. Nice family business, Ontario Street Comics. If you're in Philadelphia, it's really worth going there. No matter where you're at in Philadelphia, it's not far from any point in Philadelphia. Check out Ontario Street Comics. A shout out to the Captain at Ontario Street Comics. That's one of the only things I miss about. It's one of the only things that I miss, really. Oh, okay. Yes, I'm talking. AJ, that was Michael Schratt who called during the show. But Michael had some issues going on, and he was trying to, I suppose, stay out of the spotlight on UFO subjects. So I didn't want to say, "Hey, everybody, it's Michael Schratt on the phone." But I talked to him later, and he said, "Oh no, it's okay." And we were talking about this Mark McCandlish case. He did some research as well that lines up perfectly with mine. So there's another very credible person that researched the Mark McCandlish tragic suicide and agrees with my side of the story. You know, instead of the fairy tale story coming out of Robert Morningstar and Kerry Cassidy and Jordan Sather and people like that. Bernard Conkin's going to schedule me about, I could do it next week, but you got to show up. I have one requirement, Bernard Conkin. You have to show up on time. That's what you got to do. I don't care if you call in on a cell phone, whatever. Just don't leave me hanging for an hour again, because that was terrible. It wasn't that bad. You know, it was a learning experience for me. For those that don't know, Bernard Conkin scheduled to be a guest, and then he was in traffic or something was going on, and I was on a live show for an hour trying to fill time waiting for him to show up, and then we gave up because it seemed like he was never getting out of that traffic or whatever's going on. But, you know, these are things that happen. You live, you learn, and you roll on. So, oh boy, friends, we're coming up on 2 hours and 40 minutes. So I think we're going to bounce out here. I definitely want to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight, because I am always happy, friends, when there's an audience. And I got to tell you, every time I come here, there's a fun audience to interact with, to share this journey with, and to just spend some time with. So thank you so much. I'm always happy when there's an audience. Thank you for coming here tonight and being a part of mine. I was happy to get to spend some time with all of you tonight. There's nothing else I would have rather done tonight, honestly. There's some things I should have done maybe instead. Like, I got to clean this cabin. Oh man, friends, I have to do a huge, deep cleaning of this whole place before my wife gets here. And that's going to be a whole weekend probably of just cleaning, right? It's going to take some time. She's a little particular, my missus, you know, and I want her to be happy and comfortable when she comes here and not get pissed off at me and have to clean for the whole first weekend she's here, because she'll do it. Yeah. I'm going to be working on that this weekend too, at least clearing as much of this debris out of here as I can. So I want to thank you very much, all of you, for spending some time with us tonight. Thanks once again to our super chat. I'm going to do it one more time. I will do it one more time. We will praise the cash one more time. Praise the cash. Praise the cash. Thank you to our super chat donators tonight, Jonaside and All Around Arbiter. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. It really does help. We're a viewer-supported show. So if you want to see more like this, throw some money at me. And praise the cash. All right, friends, I got to roll out of here. It has been my pleasure to spend some quality time with you guys tonight. Until next time, friends. And look, we're gonna do the other half of this, because I think it gets better. He starts talking about David Wilcock starts talking about the American cases next, and it gets wacky. So we might do a part 2. Until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.